Good morning and welcome everyone. Uh, our apologies for the delay. We were having some technical issues and hence the delay. Today is January 27, 2021, our first hearing of the year. Some housekeeping matters before we begin our hearing today. During the declared emergency in the City of Toronto Committee of Adjustment, virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with the physical distancing requirements and a provincial order that limits attendance at public gatherings. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer, a phone, or tablet app, or telephone. All participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. All registered participants will be participating by audio only. We ask that you mute all of your personal devices, including the YouTube stream, when you're not speaking, to prevent transmission of background noise and minimize disruption to the meeting. Please unmute your microphones before speaking. Please ensure to mute the YouTube streaming while you're speaking to avoid any background feedback and noise. The hearing will take at a slower pace. Each item will be stated, and then a moment will be given to allow everyone to find their place. Please write down the WebEx meeting access code and attendee ID from your WebEx meeting invitation, and keep it nearby for quick reference. If you experience lag or audio issues, disconnect and call into the hearing and enter this information. Please call into the hearing with the phone number that you have registered with so that staff can recognize your number and unmute you when your item comes up. Before we begin our hearing, we acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaty signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. In accordance with Section 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Toronto is now called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for minor variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consents to create new lots. I will now go through the hearing procedure. To ensure a fair and timely hearing, I will vet the agenda to determine which applications can be dealt with immediately and which applications require a more in-depth review. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or the applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or the agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching the 5 minutes. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or the agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee. Please note that the committee may not entertain major revisions to the hearing today, or no revisions to the proposals at all. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure the revised application is accurate and all those who are entitled to the notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals, either in support or opposition to the application, will be invited to speak. Please ensure to include all your remarks or concerns that you may have. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. If there are several speakers sharing the same view, please select a spokesperson to present the group's opinion. We certainly want to hear your views. However, covering the same points will not advance your cause. Please be advised that all participants at the hearing today will be given a chance to speak before the committee moves on to the applicant for a rebuttal or a response to the concerns raised. The chair will advise if there are any questions for the participants. When all speakers or participants are finished, the applicant or the agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. Please note that unless committee members have any questions, the participants will not get a chance to rebut the applicant's response. That will mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. The committee has received the minutes of the last meeting on December 15, 2020. I would like to have a motion to confirm and adopt the meeting minutes. May I have a mover, please? Member Muhammad. Could you please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move the motion for approval of the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment last meeting.
Right. May I have a seconder? Member M seconds the motion. All in favor?
I second the motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Motion carries. The minutes of the last meeting have been adopted and confirmed. Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest of panel or staff? Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, I do have a conflict on item number 19. The agent on the application is an acquaintance of mine. Thank you. For that item, I would request Member M to chair the item for me for both the vetting as well as the actual deliberation, if that's the case. Thank you, Member M. Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, do you have any requests for deferral?
Through the chair, there are no requests for deferral.
Thank you very much. I will now vet the agenda. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda and ask if anyone other than the agent or the applicant is present and wishes to address the committee. If there are people in interest, the matter will be held until all non-contested applications have been cleared from the agenda. If there's no person who wishes to speak, the agent of the applicant will proceed with their presentation or if they wish to say something to the committee, if required. The committee may then ask questions or take the matter into committee for a decision. I will now begin with the agenda. In terms of vetting, the first item on the agenda is 4000 Lawrence Avenue East, and I would like to confirm if we have the agent, Scott Pomeroy, online with us.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you, Scott. Just bear with us, please. We also have the owner and senior director listed with us, Gobal Melvaganam. Are you with us? Gobal or Gobal?
I'm here.
Thank you very much. Members of the committee, are there any questions for the applicant and the owner at this time, or would you like the matter to be held?
Sorry.
Member Gary, please go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair, I have some questions for the agent. So my preference is that this item, number one, that it be deferred, and we'll hold it down.
Okay, so you want this item to be held for further deliberation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Member Gary. Member Said, you also raised your hand. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am okay because we are holding this item for further discussion.
Okay, sounds good.
You.
Thank you very much. So Scott and Gobal, we will hold down this matter for further discussion as members of the committee have some questions for you. So please stay with us until we come back to the main body of the meeting, okay? All right. Second item, item number 2, 125 NASHDENE Road. And we have listed with us the agent on the application, and it is Guybert Duff Ryan. Are you with us? Gibbert or Guybert?
I am, yes.
Sorry for
It's
the...
Gilbert, yeah.
Oh,
Duff.
it's... Oh, sorry. My apologies. Mr. Gilbert, sorry about
That's
that.
okay.
Okay. So
That's okay.
Gilbert, stay with us for a moment. Have you received the TRCA's comments or their comment regarding the requirement of a permit prior to obtaining building municipal approvals and any development on the property?
Yes,
And do you
we have had discussions with them.
Okay. And are you okay with their request, should the committee approve this application, with that being a condition of the approval?
Yes, is that the condition regarding the trees?
No. So in their memo from August 12th, 2020, I don't know if you have a copy of that. You were copied on it, as I see.
Yes, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm having a little technical problem with my computer this morning. I couldn't log in, so I'm on my telephone in my kitchen.
Okay. No worries. I will read it out to you. It's actually on the screen as well. Brian has pulled it up. It says, the underlined sentence, if you can read, it says a TRCA permit is required prior to development taking place and prior to any municipal building approval.
Okay.
Okay. And you have no
Yeah,
concerns with that?
I don't have a problem with making the application.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Over to the members of the committee. Any question for Gilbert at this time? I see none. If there are no concerns, can I please have a motion on this application? Member M.
Through you, Madam Chair, I put forward a motion of approval of item 1 for 96 Preston Street Avenue with the condition of the TRCA permit being
No,
required.
Member M, sorry to interrupt you. You had the incorrect address. It's NASHDENE, item 2.
Oh, sorry, items 2 is 125 NASHDENE Drive with the condition being added of a TRCA permit being required prior to the issuance of any building permit.
Okay, thank you. May I have a seconder? And there are conditions of urban forestry as well.
Apologize, I amend my motion to include the urban forestry conditions.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion on the floor to accept the application for 125 NASHDENE Road, subject to the TRCA condition and urban forestry. Seconder, Member Mohammed, please go ahead.
Madam Chair, I will second this motion for approval of item number 2, subject to the condition of TRCA, and there are urban forestry condition number 2.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? Motion carries. The application has been approved for 125 NASHDENE Road, subject to condition of TRCA permit requirement, as well as the urban forestry. Thank you, Gilbert, for your time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving to our next item on the agenda, item number 3, 79 WESTCROFT Drive. This is a minor variance application, and we have registered with us Gabriella Gregoriou. Are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning, Gabriella. And we also had the owner, Olga, with us. Hello, Olga, are you with us?
Yes, I am here.
Thank you very much. Members of the committee, we have the owner and the applicant for item 379 WESTCROFT Drive. And just for record, I would say that we have received letters of support from the neighbors on this application. And Member Emp, you have raised your hand to speak. Please go ahead.
I just wanted to ensure that they understand the urban forestry conditions.
Okay, no, that's a good point. So, Gabriella and Olga, there's a condition of urban forestry. Do you have any questions regarding that?
No, I have no questions. We actually made an average report and an application to urban forestry for that.
Okay, perfect. Is that sufficient, Member M? You're happy? Okay.
Yeah, they just had to go through that process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Members of the committee, any questions for the applicant or the owner at this time? I see none. If there are no questions, may I please have a motion? Member M.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I put forward a motion for approval of 79 WESTCROFT Drive with conditions of urban forestry, please.
May I have a seconder? Member Macaulay.
Madam Chair, I second that motion, subject to the conditions of urban forestry.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? Motion is carried. The application for 79 WESTCROFT Drive has been approved, subject to condition of urban forestry. Thank you, Gabriela and Olga.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And if I can just remind members of the committee to please mute your microphones. We're hearing some feedback. Thank you very much. And that is when you're not speaking. Thank you. We now move to item number 4. Item number 4 is 42 ARAGON Avenue. We have with us registered the agent and the applicant. Can we have the agent, Mubashir Chaudhry?
Through the chair, the agent has not checked in this morning, but we do have the applicant with us.
Okay, applicant Akila, you with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
So Akila, we have your item right now before us, but we would like to hold down this item. We have received a report from community planning recommending refusal of this item. So we would like to further discuss this application with you before we make a decision on this. So we will hold down this item. Please stay with us and we will come back to you at a later time today. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. So item 4 has been held for further discussion. We now move to item number 5. Item number 5 is 1 CLYDEBANK Boulevard. And we have with us the agent, Shenshu Zhang.
Through the chair, the agent has not checked in this morning.
Okay. Members of the committee, the applicant has not checked in with us. Are there any questions or concerns on this application at this time? Member Said?
Madam Chair, I have no questions on that. I just my comments are that the variances there are minor. And I wish the applicant was there, or we can give a chance if the applicant join at a later stage. But I'm still willing to support this if the applicant understands the condition of urban forestry there.
Okay. So that's a motion to approve the application?
Madam Chair, it's not the motion, it's the comments, unless the other committee members have any other comments on that.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, committee members? I see none. Just for record, I want to state that we did receive a letter of opposition from the neighbor, and we have reviewed it and considered it as part of our review of the applications. Members of the committee, if there are no further comments or questions, may I please have a motion? Member Said.
Madam Chair, I will move the motion for approval of item number 5, subject to the condition of urban forestry. There are 2 conditions, condition number 1 and condition number 2.
Thank you. May I have a seconder? Member M?
I'll second that motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried. The application for item number 5 at 1 CLYDEBANK Boulevard has been approved, subject to condition of urban forestry. Thank you. We now move to item number 6. Item number 6 is 207 BLANTYRE Avenue. And we have registered with us the applicant, Will Hudson. Are you with us, Will?
Good morning, committee. Yes, I am. It's Will Hudson of Hudson Architecture.
Thank you very much, Will Hudson. Members of the committee, we have Mr. Hudson with us. Do you have any questions for Mr. Hudson at this time? No? Okay. All right. Will, would you like to say anything to your application, or would you like us to proceed with a decision on this application? Member M, yes, please.
Actually, there is urban forestry conditions. I just wanted to ensure that the applicants wear those two conditions.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So back to you, Mr. Huston. Sorry, I'm just going to say Will. Back.
It's okay, don't worry. Yeah, I'm aware of it. I'm a little baffled by it because it speaks to a private tree, which I don't think is on the property, but there is one, a big tree in the park behind my client's property. So I'm thinking maybe Forestry has thoughts about that tree, but either way, I acknowledge receipt of it, and we will make sure that we satisfy the condition as part of the process.
Yeah, and just so you have a little bit of clarity, with urban forestry conditions, they do look at trees within the vicinity of the property, as the underground root structure can come onto your client's property underground. And so there is a buffer zone of impact. Even though the tree itself may situate outside of the property, there is consideration for trees just outside of the property.
Okay, understood. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Member M, for clarifying that. If there are no further comments or questions, can I please have a motion on this application? Member Macaulay.
Members of the committee, I recommend approval of this application, subject to the comments, subject to satisfying urban forestry, and that, as the applicant has said, will ensure that he has a meeting with them and they can clarify whether that is an issue or not.
Okay, thank you.
So I
Seconder?
recommend approval.
Thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Seconder? Member M?
I'll
Yeah.
second that motion, Madam Chair.
Okay, Member M seconds the motion. All in favor of this motion? It's unanimous. The motion's carried. The application has been approved, subject to condition of urban forestry. Thank you, Will, for your time today.
Thanks so much.
We now move to item number 7. Item number 7 is 9 Andrew Avenue. And we have with us the agent, Patrick. Patrick, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
For item number 7, for 9 Andrew Avenue, for record, I would like to state that the committee has received the letters of objection that were submitted, and committee members have reviewed it and considered it as part of the application. Members of the committee, any questions for Patrick at this
Can I
time?
make a comment about this item?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, they have the numbers switched around wrong. It should be the front balcony is 5.75 and the rear balcony is 8.05. First off, I'd like to downsize the front balcony so it meets the requirements, so that will no longer be an issue. And the only issue is the rear balcony, which will be 8.05.
So Patrick, you have to help me with this. So are you referring to any particular variance that's before us?
7.
Okay, so number 7. Okay. So for variance number 7, the maximum permitted area of a platform at or above the second story is 4 meters. The proposed front balcony has an area of 8.05 square meters, and the proposed rear balcony has an area of 5.75.
Correct. So eliminate the front balcony because I'll reduce it to below 4.
Okay, so then the variance would be that the proposed rear balcony has an area of 5.75?
No, that will be the 8.05.
Oh, that would be 8. So that's reversed. Okay. So members of the committee, I'm not sure if you followed, but there's a little bit of a change that has been requested by the applicant. First, the size of the balcony is reversed. So it should have been the proposed front balcony is 5.75 and the proposed rear balcony is 8.05. What Mr. Patrick is suggesting here is that he is able to remove the front balcony because he would comply with the maximum size. So at this point, the variance before us would be the rear balcony at 8.05. Member M.
Is there an issue with notice then? Because the notice was circulated wrong with the wrong measurements per balcony.
Correct.
This is a question for staff.
Yes, I will be deferring to staff on that. Mr. Collin.
Through the chair, if the committee feels that this is minor and it's insubstantive in terms of the revision, the committee can deal with it. Or if they feel it's substantial, then it can be deferred and notice can be given.
Okay, thank you, Colin.
For you, Madam Chair, to staff, we do see that there are multiple letters of objection on this file, including the direct neighbor. And without having hearing what their concerns necessarily are, I feel like if it is relation to variance 7, that maybe perhaps the appropriate notice might be necessary. But I mean, should we just hold this down? Do we have additional speakers, or is it just the applicant on the call today?
All right.
I believe it's just the applicant.
So, Member M, the advice that I've got from staff is that this should require a new notice because the change is significant in terms of the size of the balcony. And because we have some concerned residents and neighbors, I feel that they should be given an opportunity to look at this revised proposal. Mr. Collin? Yeah.
Through the chair, you may wish to clarify with the applicant whether they still want to proceed with the variances as they've with the revisions as suggested, because as we've just noted, it would require revised notice, a new notice to reflect the current variances that are being requested. Maybe ask the applicant whether they still wish to
proceed with
Yes.
the application as presented today?
Exactly.
With the,
Yeah.
correct? Okay.
Yeah, because no new notice would be required if they eliminated that front balcony variance.
But the rear one?
But the rear one, because that's changing, and it's actually a larger variance.
Getting
That's the reason why it's triggering the new notice.
Okay, all right. So Patrick, you heard the conversation. So
Yes.
what is your recommendation?
Just eliminate it completely.
Oh, okay. You don't want to go through.
I'll make both of them suit the 4 square meters.
Okay, no.
Well, no, there's an option for you, Patrick, where you eliminate the front balcony, but then you just keep the rear at 5.75. If you keep the rear at 5.75, we can proceed because that's the notification that we listed publicly.
That's fine. Let's do that.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I'm just going to reiterate what was just mentioned. Patrick will leave the variance as is, but certainly eliminate the front balcony variance and just leave the rear balcony at 5.75, and he will adjust his drawings accordingly. Okay, all right. So committee members, at this point, any questions for Patrick? No, okay. If there are none, may I please have a motion? Member M?
Through you, Madam Chair, I recommend approval of the applications at 9 Andrew Avenue, subject to the urban forestry conditions, as well as the revision to variance number 7 to remove the request for the front platform.
Okay.
And to only keep the request for the rear balcony at 5.7 square meters.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Someone will have to speak up because I don't see all the speakers here. All right, Member Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will second the motion for approval of item number 7. As we discussed, there will be a revision in the variance number 7 accordingly, and subject to the condition of urban forestry 1 and 2.
Perfect. Thank you. All in favor of this motion? Motion carries. The application has been approved subject to the revision as well as subject to the urban forestry condition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We now move to item number 8. Item number 8 is 6 Fallingbrook Crescent, and I believe we have some speakers that are registered to speak on this item. We will hold down this item, and you wanted me to do a roll call then? Okay. Okay, so we have Lorne Rose as the agent. Lorne, are you with us?
Yes, I am, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. And we also have Caroline Howard. Are you with us, Caroline?
Yes, I am.
And could you please confirm you're here to speak in opposition or have some concerns with this application?
Yes, I have opposition, yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. So we are going to hold down this item and come back to it in the main body. Thank you. Please stay with us. We now move to item number 9. Item number 9 is 25 Pressley Avenue. And we have with us the agent, Will Hudson. Will, you're with us?
Through the chair, we did have Will earlier.
Yes.
He mentioned he was having
Yes.
connection issues. And I don't see him on right now, so I suspect he's still having issues.
Okay, and let's check if the applicant listed is here with us. Nisar Patel, are you with us, Nisar?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, all right. So you realize the agent, your agent on this application is not here. And if there are any questions of the committee, we can ask you the questions, correct?
So I'm the agent.
Oh, you are the agent on the application. Okay, okay.
Yeah, I think so. The other name which has been noted is not accurate. I'm not sure, but I'm the agent, sorry.
Okay, no, that's fine. I do see you are the listed agent. Okay, so it appears to be a typo probably on the list. That's okay. So my apologies for that. No problem. So Nisar Patel, just stay with us for a moment. Let me check with the committee. But before I do that, you understand that there's a report from the committee, from community planning with a recommendation. Are you aware of that recommendation?
Yes.
And do you have any concerns with that recommendation?
No.
And you do not have any urban forestry comments. Okay. Members of the committee, any questions for Nisar? Hi. Member Gary.
The condition through the planning staff report was that there should be screening on the north and south side to a height of 1.8 meters. So you're familiar, or sorry, I take it you'll accept that condition.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. So, Gary, are you putting forward a motion? We're having some audio issues, Gary. Could you unmute yourself again?
Hi, Madam Chair. I think I'm back on. So, yes, I'm prepared to put forward a motion to approve this application on Pressley, subject to the condition that solid screening be placed on the north and south side of the property to a height of 1.8 meters.
Okay, thank you.
I'll just check to see if I've got a note about, no, I see no urban forestry conditions. So I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Member Macaulay had her hand up first. Member Macaulay?
I second that motion for approval, subject to the community planning condition.
Okay. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried. The application has been approved, subject to condition of community planning staff report. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair and all the members. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We now move to item number 10. Item number 10 is 8 LeJune Road. And we have with us the agent, Peter Jerusik. You're with us, Peter?
I am present. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have the architect, Mihir Kapadia. Are you with us, Mihir?
Yes, I'm the applicant, actually.
Oh, you're the applicant. Okay. All right. So we have Mihir, the applicant, and Mr. Jerusik as the agent on this application. Members of the committee, Any questions for Peter or Mihir? I see none. Just want to confirm if there are any urban forestry conditions. There aren't any. Okay. All right. If there are no questions, can I please have a motion? Member M.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I put forward a motion recommending approval for 8 LEJUNE Road, and there's no conditions that I see.
Okay. May I have a seconder, please? Member Said?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I second the motion for approval of item number 10. There are no conditions attached to that.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried. The application is approved and there are no conditions. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We now go to item 11. Item 11, it is for 594 Birchmount Road. And we have with us the agent, Joe Domb. Are you with us, Joe?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We also have Ian Mathura. Ian, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you. We've also listed as a registered speaker William O'Neill as construction project manager. Are you with us, William?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
I
you.
am.
Okay, thank you very much. Members of the committee, this is a minor variance application. Any questions for any of the agent, the owner, or the project manager? Member Macaulay. Member Macaulay, we cannot hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. It's a question to the owner or the applicant. Have you had communication with your neighbor who owns the other half of this semi? Are they aware of your proposal?
Yes, it's same owner. My parents are entitled for both sides of the semi. Yes.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Okay.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you. Any other question for the owners or the agent? Okay, perfect. If there are no questions, I just want to check if there was any condition. There are no conditions. So if there are no questions, can I please have a motion? Member Macaulay.
Sorry, it's taking me a minute to unmute here. I recommend approval of this minor variance for 594 Birchmount. There are no conditions.
May I have a seconder? Member M.
I'll second that motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried. The application has been approved and there are no conditions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. We now go to item number 12. Item number 12 is 28 Preston Street. This is a minor variance application, and we have with us Rick Bongers as the agent. Rick, you're with us?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning, Rick. Just want to check if there's any condition. There is a condition. So, Rick, are you aware of the conditions of urban forestry, and do you have any concerns with it?
Yes, I'm aware. No, I don't have any concerns with it.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to say about your application at this time?
No.
Okay.
I feel the minor variances are, for the most part, a result of existing conditions. The front setback variance for the box window on the second floor is just a means of breaking up the massing on the front facade.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments, Rick. Members of the committee, any questions for Rick? I see none. If there are no questions, can I please have a motion? Member M.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, I put forward a motion of approval, subject to the urban forestry conditions.
Seconder.
Conditions, it's just one.
Okay, that's okay. Seconder, please. Member Macaulay.
Madam Chair, I will second that motion.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried. The application has been approved, subject to condition of urban forestry.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. We now move to item number 13. Item number 13 is 26 Thora Avenue. And we have with us the applicant, Jamshed Ali Durrani. Are you with us, Jamshed?
Through the chair, the applicant hasn't checked in. However, the owner is with us today.
Okay, thank you. So owner Duncan Weenan, are you with us, Duncan?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Okay, just bear with us for a second. I just want to check. So there's a condition of urban forestry, and are you aware of that condition, sir?
I am aware and we don't have an issue.
Okay, thank you. Members of the committee, any question for Duncan? Member Said?
Madam Chair, just a comment that if Mr. Duncan is aware of the urban forestry condition, I am willing to support this application because the variants mentioned there are very minor, and those meets our 4 checks.
Okay, so just to confirm with you, Mohammed, that we did check with the applicant, with Duncan, and he's aware of the condition and he has no concerns. So is that a motion?
I am willing to move the motion if the other members of committee have no comments on that. I move the motion for approval of item number 13, subject to the condition of urban forestry.
Thank you. Seconder, Member McKay?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'll second that motion to approve, subject to that condition.
Thank you, Gary. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application has been approved, subject to condition of urban forestry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We now move to item number 14, and item number 14 is for 2500 Lawrence Avenue East. And we have with us the owner, Mark and Maria Bacala. Are you with us, Mark and Maria?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Members of the committee, Member M.
Hi, Madam Chair. I'd like to hold this item down to further discuss the request from community planning to limit the approval for 3 years. I note that the applicant's request is that the use be in perpetuity. So
Sure.
unless they're willing to just agree to the 3-year condition, I see the need for further discussion.
So what you're suggesting is we ask this question right now, and if they have no concerns, then we can proceed with a decision at this time? Okay. So Mark and Maria, have you had a chance to review the condition that has been recommended in community planning staff report?
Yes, we'd actually, our original request, would you consider 5 years instead of 3?
Okay, so how about this? I see this requiring some discussion. So let's hold down this item and give you a good opportunity to discuss your case, and then we can take the matter into decision at that time, okay? So we will hold down this item and come back to it. So please stay with us.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. So item 14 has been held for further discussion. Item number 15 is 68 Park Street. And we have with us registered Bernie Passler. Bernie, you with us?
Yes. Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. And we also
Can you hear
have,
me?
yes, we can hear you. Thank you. And Rosa, are you with us? Rosa and Nusrat?
I'm here. Newsrat's here. Howdy, all.
Good. Okay, so Nusrat is here, and we also had Rosa, and it was the same sort of party. So I'm assuming.
Yeah, she's my wife. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. So this is an application for minor variance, and for record, we have received letters of support from the residents. For this particular item, there are conditions of urban forestry. So Nusrat, are you aware? Bernie, both of you, you're aware of the conditions of urban forestry?
Aware and understood. Thank you.
Okay, and no concerns with the conditions?
upon examination, there won't be any issues.
Okay, thank you. Members of the committee, any questions for the owners or the representative? I see none. Can I please have a motion? Member Macaulay.
Madam Chair, I recommend approval of this application. I believe we said there was no conditions.
There are 2 conditions of urban forestry.
Oh, sorry. They're subject then to the 2 conditions of urban forestry. Recommend approval of this variance.
Okay, seconder, Member M.
I'll second that motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application for 68 Park Street has been approved subject to conditions of urban forestry. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time this morning. We now go to item number 16, and item number 16 is for 1960 to 1970 Lawrence Avenue. And we have with us Evan Kim as the applicant. Evan, you're with us?
Yes, good morning.
Okay. And Evan, are you aware of the, I believe there was a staff condition on this one? There isn't any? Okay. All right. Sorry about that. I just want to make sure there are no conditions of urban forestry. There aren't any. Okay. Members of the committee, any question for Evan at this time? Member Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a quick question, and I think we can address this at this point. Mr. Kim, could you just mention that the prior approval, variance approval by the Committee of Adjustment were for the eating establishment, but currently I found that this establishment is used as a garage. Am I right on that?
Yes, currently this establishment is being used as a repair garage.
Could you speak a bit louder, Evan? We couldn't hear you.
Yes, could you hear me better?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, so, sorry, Mr. Said, could you repeat the question?
Thank you. I can't hear you. Actually, you have to speak a little bit loudly.
Okay.
My question was that the prior approvals of the Committee of Adjustment, right, starting from 2013, those were for the eating establishment, right? And I was
right.
just wondering that the Committee of Adjustment decision has been implemented accordingly, because I don't see that variances are in line, or the use of that facility has been in line with the committee decisions. Because, and my question could be that, is this unit have ever been used as a eating establishment, or it was like throughout the period it was a garage?
I'm not quite sure about that. I know that it has been repair garage for a certain time, over 5 years now.
Just wait.
If I could interject, I think maybe I can clarify the question a little bit better. Mr. Mohammed is, I think, trying to understand whether or not through the previous minor variance application, if the eating establishment was ever built. So he's just wanting to ensure that there's not an existing eating establishment there, and that this request will result in the eating establishment being built. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so previous requests to the committee were to permit this eating establishment with a smaller GFA. You're now back before the committee requesting a slightly larger GFA. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, so Mr. Mohammed, does that clarify your question?
Yeah, that's clear to me that the request is for the eating establishment, but I was looking at the previous variances request were also for the eating establishment, but After approval of those variances, the facility was used as a garage as against the approval of the eating establishment. But anyway, moving forward, so I have another question just first. I know there is no issue of parking, but the number of parking mentioned there is 38. So is this the parking for both the building, 1960 and 1970, or it is only for the unit number 18 of 1970?
No, that's for the entire
It's
plaza.
it's for the entire plaza, or both.
So the address of the plaza, Muhammad, is 1960 to 1970, and that parking requirement is required for the entire plaza. The conversion of this unit to an eating establishment is part of that plaza where the parking, the deficiency is. Okay.
And I just want to also mention that the variance before us is solely related to the size, right? So it doesn't really matter if he ended up doing the eating establishment or not. Both the eating establishment and the garage are permitted uses.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
So it's really kind of not part of this application, Mohammed.
Yes.
Is the
Okay, Mohammed, we're in the vetting session, so you may want to think about it. If you want to have further discussion, you will have to hold it down. I'm in the vetting session right now.
Madam Chair, that's okay. I got the answers to the question and I am willing to support this application.
Before you do, I have Member Macaulay raising her hand. Member Macaulay.
I suggest we hold it down.
Do you have questions, or are you recommending based on Muhammad's comments?
No, I had questions having read the reports.
Okay, so we are going to hold down this item. Just a reminder to all the members, if you feel that this is going to go beyond more than a question, always recommend holding. I don't want to waste people's time. There are a lot of people waiting in the queue. So we are going to...
Similarly, we also have to focus on the variance before us.
Yes.
There is no variances for parking. There's no variances for added uses. So if you have an issue with the variance, which is the increase in size, that's what we need to speak towards, because I don't want to hold this issue down and have this applicant stale on just for us to talk about things that are not within our jurisdiction, please.
Thank you, Member M. So we are going to hold down this item, as you heard Evan, for further discussion, because our members have some questions, further questions for you. All right, so item 16 is being held for further discussion. Item number 17. Item number 17, we have some registered participants who have registered to speak. This will be held, but before I do, I want to make sure they are online with us. Leo Mastandria, he's the agent. Leo, you're with us?
Through the chair, the agent has not checked in this morning.
Okay. Gopi Das. Gopi, you're with us? Yeah. Hello? Yeah. Okay. Your mic's a little quieter. Can you increase the volume or speak loudly? You're the interested party, right?
Hello?
Hi, Gopi, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you speak a bit louder, please?
Okay, can you hold it again?
Okay, stay with us. We can't hear you very well. This item is being held for further discussion. So between now and then, see if you can improve the sound quality. Thank you. Daniela?
Through the chair, this person has not checked in today.
Okay, thank you. So we are going to hold down this item and come back to it for further discussion. And Leo, if you are listening to us, please try to connect. Thank you. As well as Daniela. Item 17 being held. Item number 18. 55 Harewood Avenue. We have with us the agent, Jonathan. You're with us, Jonathan?
I'm here, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. We also have Tom Cassanda in opposition. Tom, you're with us? Okay, so Tom had registered to speak with us as an opposition member. So we are going to hold down this item and come back to it. Tom, if you are hearing us, please try to tune in. Item 18 is being held. Which brings me to item 19. And as I mentioned, I do have a conflict of interest on this one. So I am going to pass the torch to member M as I move away. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Moving on to item 19, which is a minor variance application for 27 Rockwood Drive. I see that we have 3 speakers listed. 2 of them are members of the public in opposition. So I'm just going to do a roll call to ensure that we have everybody online. So do we have the applicant here, Nadeem? Is Nadeem online, please?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Great, thank you. And then I have a Tom Cassandra. Is Tom on the line?
Through the chair, Tom is online, but he seems to be having technical difficulties.
Okay, great. Tom, since we do have speakers in opposition to this item, we will be holding this item down for further discussions, and you'll have a little bit of time to try to rectify your audio issues. I suggest if you cannot fix it on the computer, that you try calling back in through the call-in number that we can that staff can provide. Moving on to the second member of the public, is Suzanne Brown on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Suzanne. Okay, so we pretty much have everybody on, so please hang tight while we go through the rest of the vetting session, and we will come back to your item for further discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Member M. So item 19 has been held. Item 20. Item 20 is for 16 Parkland Road, and we have with us, sorry, this is item 20 for 16 Parkland. We have Paul Baldessera, the applicant. Are you with us, Paul?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Before I proceed, there is a condition of urban forestry. Do you have any questions or concern with that condition, Paul?
We think it's clear, and we don't have an issue with the condition. However, we would at some point later like the opportunity to just clarify what the condition is. It looks like we're required to put trees on the lot, which is fine, but I want to make sure that's what we understand it to be.
Okay, and you will have an opportunity to speak with urban forestry and clarify with them and work with them to understand further what the condition is or what the requirements are. But for the purposes of today, would you have any concern if we were to impose this condition?
No.
Okay, thank you. Now, moving along, members of the committee, any question for Paul? I see none. If there are no further comments or questions, can I please have a motion? Member M raised her hand first. Please go ahead, Member M.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I put forward a motion of approval subject to the urban forestry conditions for 16 Parkland Road.
Right. Seconder? Member Said?
Madam Chair, I second this motion for approval. Item number 20, subject to the condition of urban forestry.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application has been approved subject to condition of urban forestry. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now move to item 21. And item 21 is a minor variance application, and we have listed with us as a registered speaker, Noor Al-Ghendi, on behalf of Agent Matt. Are you with us, Noor?
Yes, I am, Madam Chair.
Okay. And Noor, while I have you, are you aware of the recommendation in Community Planning Staff Report dated January 14 that requires that should the committee approve the application today, a condition be imposed that the owner shall build substantially in accordance with the site plan as prepared and dated August 25th as it relates to the building length and depth? Do you have any concerns with that condition?
No, that's fine with me.
Okay, and there are no conditions of urban forestry. Members of the committee, any question for Noor? She does understand the condition recommended by community planning and has no concern with it. Any questions for her at this time? I see none. If there are no questions or comment, can I please have a motion? Member Macaulay.
Madam Chair, I recommend approval of this variance, subject to the condition of community planning that they build in accordance with the site plan as shown in their application.
Okay, thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Member M.
I'll second that motion, Madam Chair.
Right. All in favor of this motion? Motion carries. The application has been approved, subject to the condition as recommended by community planning in their staff report. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. We now move to item number 22. Item number 22 is 49 Knowles Road. And we have with us Syed Ahmed. Are you with us, Syed Ahmed? Syed, can you hear us? Okay, we'll check on the applicant. We have Shivani. Shivani, you're with us?
Through the chair, the applicant hasn't checked in today, and the agent has, but seems to be having technical difficulties.
Okay, so what I'm going to suggest is we hold down this item until the end of the vetting of the session or the agenda. Syed, if you can hear us, please try to rectify your audio connection. We are unable to hear you. Once I've completed the vetting, I will come back again to your item and discuss your item. So that's item 22. We are temporarily holding this until the end of the vetting. Okay, next item, item 23. Item 23 is for 57C Orchard Park Drive, and we have Imran Khan as the agent and the applicant. Imran, you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Imran. Before I proceed, I want to make sure that I have the condition. Is there a condition? There are conditions of urban forestry. Do you have any, have you had a chance to look at the conditions and are you okay with those?
Yeah, actually, this is a new law from a severance application, right? Done 2018. At the time, the forestry department has conditions. Those were fulfilled. The payment of security deposit, like $22,000, 470.
Uh-oh. We got disconnected.
And also tree removal permit application. All the trees are now removed. The tree and then
Okay.
required tree, which we plan to remove, right? Already not on the site.
Okay, so Imran, I'm just going to say that my apologies, we couldn't hear you very well. There was a bit of an interruption, but if you can just say, sort of briefly answer my question, the two conditions that have been recommended by Urban Forestry today for the approval of this application, do you have any concern with those conditions? Imran?
Yeah. Hello.
Hello. Do you have any concerns with the two conditions that are before us today?
No, I don't have any concern. That's
Okay.
why I was telling that.
Okay. All right. So if you're, because we couldn't hear you properly, my understanding is that perhaps some of it has already been fulfilled, and that's fine. Should the committee approve this application today, and if the conditions are imposed, and if you go and talk to the Urban Forestry, and if you can demonstrate that those conditions have been fulfilled, I'm sure they will work with you and make sure everything's all good for you. Okay?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure. So members of the committee, you heard Mr. Imran is aware of the conditions of urban forestry and has no issues should the committee impose those conditions today. Any questions or comments? All right. If there are no comments or questions, Member Macaulay had her hand raised up first. Member Macaulay.
I recommend approval of this application. Recognize that it's subject to urban forestry conditions unless already approved, and it would still be subject to urban forestry conditions. All he has to do is show the approval from urban forestry.
Okay, thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Member M seconds the motion.
I second the motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried. The application has been approved, subject to the 2 conditions of urban forestry. Thank you very much, Imran.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, we now move to item number 24. Item number 24 is for 899 Victoria Park Avenue. And we have with us the agent and the owner, Mohammed Taxiwala. Mohammed, you're with us? Mohammed, you're with us? Okay. Let's check the other member of the public who has registered. My apologies if I mispronounce. It's Housekeeping. How, you're with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well. And you're here to speak in opposition to this application, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right. So how we are going to hold down this item and come back to it for further discussion. Meanwhile, Mohammed Taxiwala, who is the agent and the owner on this application, if you can, this matter is being held, so please try to connect with us and see if you can rectify the audio connections at your end. Thank you. So item 24 is being held. Item number 25 is 14 Preston Street. We have Peter Jurusik. Peter, you with us?
I am.
Okay. And Peter, you are aware that there's a recommendation for refusal from community planning?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So having said that, we are going to hold down this item and come back to it for further discussion. Thank you.
Okay.
So item 25 is being held for further discussion. Item 26, 9 Dale Avenue. And we have with us listed the agent as Bruce Hall. Bruce, you're with us?
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you very well. Thank you for joining.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining. Just bear with us for a moment. We also have members of public listed with us as speakers. I'm going to read out the name. Yinqing Wu and Ming Zheng. You're with us? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
and
we're here.
you're both here to you have concerns with the application.
Yes, we have concerns.
Okay, so I am going to hold down this item for further discussion. So Bruce and members, please stay tuned. Item 26 is being held. Last but not the least, item 27 on the agenda, 116B Claytor Drive. Peter Jurusik, you're with us?
I'm still here.
Okay, thank you. And we have conditions of urban forestry. You're aware of the conditions of urban forestry?
I am.
Okay, all right. This is for committee members. This is a previous application for consent, and the application had lapsed. The application is before us again. My understanding is that there are no changes to this application from the previous application. It's the same configuration as was previously applied or approved by the Committee of Adjustment. Any questions for Peter? Any comment? Member M.
This might be a question for staff, but do the standard conditions of consent still apply, even if they may have already addressed some of the conditions as per the previous lapsed decision?
Colin?
No, they would not. So this is why, because the conditions lapsed, this is why the applicant has filed for a new consent, and minor variance application. So to answer your question, no. The conditions included, the standard conditions would apply should the committee approve this application today, the consent application.
Okay, so that would have to be included in our
Yeah.
motion. Okay, understood.
Yeah, that's what.
That's my only question. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, so just reiterating, the standard conditions of consent will apply. Okay. All right, if there are no further comments, Member Macaulay?
Yes, again, a question could be answered by staff. We have a variance application in front of us in connection with this consent. Are these the same variance items that were previously approved? And if they are, why do we have the variance in front of us? We don't need it.
Oh, so the response I'm getting, Colin, can you repeat
So
that?
through the chair, there are some additional variances being requested through the variance application currently before you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the configuration of the consent remains the same, but there are some additional variances before us today which were not part of the previous application. Okay. Having said that, any further question or clarification for Peter? Okay, if there are none, can I please have a motion on this application? Member M?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I recommend approval of the consent application, subject to the urban forestry conditions, as well as the standard conditions of consent, as well as the application for the minor variances.
Okay, thank you very much. Seconder, please. Member Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will second this motion for approval of item number 27. As condition mentioned there, the standard conditions of the consents will be there. And additional variances, we believe those are minor, and I second the approval of this motion.
All right, so we had a motion to approve subject to conditions of standard conditions of consent and urban forestry. We have a seconder on this motion. All in favor of this motion? Motion carries. The application has been approved subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of the agenda, but I had temporarily held item 22 for 49 Knowles Road, giving a chance to Syed Ahmed to connect. Syed, you're with us?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Sorry about that. Now I'm online. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. No problem at all, sir. It happens.
Wonderful.
Okay, all right.
Sorry. Okay.
No problem. So, Syed, the reason why I had held it was because I didn't see any registered participants to speak, but I wanted to confirm with you if you had a chance to review the community planning staff report. And are you aware of the condition that has been recommended? Do you have any concern with that condition? Should the committee approve your application today and impose that condition?
Yes, I do. There's no question at all.
Okay, and you have no concern with the proposed recommendation?
Not at all.
Okay.
We'll take care of it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. So, members of the committee.
Thank you.
Members of the committee, we got confirmation from the applicant or the agent, Syed Ahmed. He has read community planning staff report. He has no concern with the proposed recommendation. And I don't believe there is a condition of urban forestry. Any question or comment at this time? I see none. If there are none, then may I please have a motion? Member M.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I put forward a recommendation of approval subject to the community planning condition to tie the development to the site plan. And I don't see any urban forestry conditions.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, please. Member Macaulay.
Madam Chair, I will second that motion subject to the same condition.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application has been approved for 49 Knowles Road, subject to condition of, as recommended by Community Planning Staff Report dated January 18th. Thank you, Mohammed.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Sayyid Ahmed.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to the end of the agenda for vetting. I will now go through and confirm the list of items that have been held. So for those of you who are listening, please make sure that I have that your item has been captured for further discussion. So the first item that was held was item 1, item 4, item 8, item 14, item 16, item 17, item 18, item 19, item 24, item 25, and item 26. Okay, all right. So let's start with the discussions on the held item. First item, 4000 Lawrence Avenue East. And we have Scott with us.
Yes. I'm
Okay,
here.
thank you, Scott. Gobel, you're with us as well? Okay, Gobel, you're with us?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. So Scott and Gobel, we held this item down for further discussion. A committee member had a question, but before I move on to the committee member, do you have any comment or would you like to make a presentation on your application?
Sure, I can make a brief presentation if you would like.
Sure, a brief one will be useful.
Okay, so this is an existing apartment building, and the proposal is to put a 2-bedroom apartment on the ground floor. Formerly, there was a variety store in the location. The owner has purchased the building in 1998, so they've been operating it approximately 20 years. And it's always been a challenge with the variety stores. There isn't enough support for them. So they haven't, despite the client having a large leasing department, they've not been able to find a business that can make a go of it. So there's been a few variety stores over those 20 years, and the last one supplementing their income with some not fully legal activities, and they've been vacated for approximately 2 years. We're aware. I know that commercial is not a requirement for the site, but we are short on interior amenity space on the ground floor. However, we just would like to point out the owner also owns 4010 Lawrence on the site, and they have between the two buildings have a significant amount of exterior amenity space, and they are also work with the East Scarborough storefront that is adjacent to the space, and they provide meeting rooms or a meeting room on the interior for interior space in the other building, 4010 Lawrence, and support the Scarborough storefront through various activities. As well as run on their own volition a breakfast program for the residents of the building. So I guess I'm just pointing that out because, as much as we don't think it's a great use for the physical space for an amenity space in the ground floor, because it's sort of an access point into the building. We prefer to see residents there, and it would be difficult to monitor. You would need to monitor it as an amenity space. Full time, and see many difficulties with that. Anyway, so just presenting that there are several other ways that they're supporting the the local community as well. We've discussed with planning and are amenable to providing an easement on the east side of the property as a connection to the path system behind the building.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And community planning staff report has recommended 4 conditions, and you have had a chance to review those, and there are no concerns with those conditions?
Correct.
Okay, and so you know which community planning staff report I'm referring to, January 12th dated?
Sorry, I'm just, would you mind?
Yeah, okay.
I believe, Sina, would you mind just reading those conditions?
Sure. So this was in our agenda, a staff report from community planning dated January 12th. And the community planning recommends that should the Committee of Adjustment approve the requested variances, the following conditions be imposed. And because they are long conditions, I'm not going to read it all out, but you can see on the screen, the first one refers to the owner shall build substantially in accordance with the drawings. Condition 2 is about creating an easement for the purposes of trail connection. Number 3 is submitting a deposited reference plan prior to issuance of a building permit. And number 4 talks about securing a license for initial construction and staging access and maintenance of the trail connection.
Yes, sorry, we were aware of those. It just the number of them threw me off, but yes, we're aware and we are okay with that.
Okay, all right. So there are in total 4 conditions that have been recommended. Okay. Yes, Member M, I'm watching you. I will come to you in a second. So what I'm hearing from you, Scott, is that there are no concerns with these conditions, and you're good.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. For record, I would like to state that we also have a letter from our local councillor, and I believe he has some concerns with the proposal. We also have the TRCA memo, and they have no objection, and there are no requirements. Member M, over to you. You have some questions?
Actually, I do believe there are TRCA conditions listed in the letter.
There are?
Yes.
Oh.
If Brian could pull that up. In the meantime, I'm going to ask my question.
Mm-hmm.
So from reviewing the submission materials available to us, I note that generally the main concern is the removal of this retail space that has really been a great amenity for both this building and the surrounding buildings to have access to a small retail space to buy like immediate convenient provisions. Now, is it that the tenant is no longer looking to occupy that space and you're looking to repurpose it? Or is it you're just wanting to get rid of that retail space in order to increase the amount of residential leasable land?
The tenant has been gone for close to 2 years.
Okay, so it's been sitting vacant is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, that makes a difference to me. Thank you.
Okay.
Brian, were you able to find the TRCA letter?
Yes, we are able to find, and it's on the screen, Amy. And as I read, there are no objections, and I don't see any requirement.
No, there's no objections, but I did see something with conditions. Oh, it says or conditions. Sorry, my apologies. I'm reading my notes wrong.
Okay, so there's no condition from TRCA. Okay, all right. Member Gary, yes, you had questions. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just to the applicant, in looking at the material, I just wanted to clarify something. Was there some previous retail space that was converted to residential? So did this, was this done once before?
Not to our knowledge. So as I said, they purchased in 1998, and the current retail or the retail store under proposal is the only change, and there hasn't been any change prior to that since, at least since the current owner has owned the building.
Okay, and with respect to, you've read Councillor Ainsley's letter?
Yes.
All right. Well, my concern is impact. I thought that the councillor had stated the situation well. There doesn't seem to be other retail space in sort of in the general vicinity, and when there is commercial here, or at least when there is a small variety store, it can serve up to 400 families. So I'm just letting you know, I have from the position of impact, I don't feel that I could support your application. That's my comment.
Right. I mean, I guess, yeah, we were a bit surprised by the councillor's letter and replied back to them. I am concerned there's a bit of perhaps romanticization of what these variety stores do. There is, you know, they are, it's a struggle for them, and the building occupants are not providing, you know, they're not large enough to make a go of these retail stores, and so they haven't been successful. And you know, I think largely a lot of it's due to the change in retail trends. I mean, you know, it's a convenience store, so obviously everything's a little more expensive, and people, I'm sure the odd time, you know, do use it out of pure convenience, but more often than not will go to you know, a grocery store, et cetera, and purchase things that are lesser priced, et cetera. So like we said, there were issues with the last tenant in there who were supplementing their income in other ways, and the police were called to the building many times because of it.
Okay, thanks for that response. That's fine, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Member McKay. I had two members asking questions. First, Member Macaulay, and then Member Said, you'll be the next one. Member Macaulay, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an area of Scarborough that I'm fairly familiar with, and I went out and took a second site visit. Although this is an apartment complex on the east side of the Highland Creek Valley, just across the valley, there is a service station with a convenience store and a coin laundry. So although you'd have to cross the valley using the bridge, there is a convenience store within walking distance. If you went further east at Galloway Road, there is another apartment building, and again, it has a variety store on the basement of that apartment building, as well as a hair salon. So I feel that there's two opportunities for these people to have access fairly easy to convenience goods or services close to their residence. And although it is more convenient if it's in your same residence, I don't think it's necessary that it has to be in the same residence.
Okay,
so I would support this recommendation for approval.
Okay.
But I'll let Mr. Mohammed go ahead before putting forth a motion.
Thank you, Member Macaulay. We'll certainly come back to you. Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you very much, Mr. Scott, for your briefing on that. Certainly, there are certain concerns raised by, and as Member Gary was saying, the impact of this. My question is this building is the Toronto Community Housing Corporation? This is the one for the subsidized?
Sorry, your question is which?
Is this building is a subsidized living area, or what we call the Toronto Community Housing Corporation?
No.
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 No. So owned by Cap Rate.
It's a private enterprise that owns the building, Member Said. It's not a Toronto Community Housing project or any other subsidized housing project.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Is that all for you? Okay. Thank you. Member M?
So I hear both Anne and Gary and their opposing sort of positions. Now that I've understood the context of the application and that this retail piece has been sitting vacant for several years, I understand that they desire additional flexibility in order to ensure that this doesn't continue to sit vacant. And also, you know, that's not good for urban design purposes either, and SEPTED purposes. So I'm of the position to also support this application because I feel that it's not that they haven't tried to tenant the space with an appropriate retail use. If it was viable, there would be one located there today. And now that they're looking at rectifying the vacancy issue, I see that putting back residential there is better, a better condition and safer for the community than keeping it defunct and vacant. So
Okay.
with that, I personally recommend approval,
Bef- bef-
subject to.
Before you do that, Member Macaulay had recommended that she would put the motion forward.
Oh, okay, then I will support her motion.
Okay, so just bear. I wanted to just provide a quick comment. I've heard all the members, and I do agree with the comments. But I think with this project, what the community is achieving out of this is that walkway and pedestrian trail connection. I think that to me is a larger community benefit that services not just this development, but residents generally in that community. So to me, it's a big win for the community as well. So that was my sort of thoughts on this application. Member Macaulay, now over to you.
Thank you, members. We've had a good discussion of this item, and I want to put forth the recommendation of approval for the change for the minor variance. I also want to recognize the benefits of the conditions giving an access to the Highland Creek Valley, and feel that although it's unfortunate that you cannot, that the retail is not in the same building, there are other opportunities in the area for that retail use. Excuse me. Therefore, I recommend approval of this application subject to the conditions. I believe there's community planning conditions and there are TRCA conditions.
No, there are no TRCA conditions. There are 4 conditions that are being recommended in community planning staff report. That's it.
Okay.
All
I
right.
will take that as correction.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the application subject to the conditions as recommended in community planning staff report dated January 12th. May I have a seconder, please? Member M seconds the motion.
I second the motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? All opposed? So I have to vote to break the tie. So I am in favor of this motion. So the motion has been carried. The application has been approved subject to the conditions. Thank you. Scott, your application's been approved.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. We now move to the second item that was held. This is item number 4. And item number 4, the address is 42 Aragon Drive. We have before us a minor variance application to permit interior alterations to the existing residential building, and we have one variance to allow additional secondary suite. We did receive a community planning staff report recommending refusal of this application. So I would like to invite the agent, Mubashir Chaudhry.
Through the chair, the agent isn't with us, but the applicant is.
Okay, all right. So the applicant, Akila, you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Akila, so we have this application before us, your application. We also have community planning staff report. Would you like to say anything about your application or provide a brief presentation, however you wish?
I would provide a brief presentation.
Sure, please go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. We applied this on March 16th or before, and then at that time we thought, okay, this is a residential neighborhood with big space in the basement which is unused, and so that's why we applied for 2 units in the basement, and we have enough parking space in front of our house already existing. We can park about 8 cars there. We are applying for 2 one-bedroom suites in the basements. Why we are applying the 2 one-bedroom is we don't want to have multiple rooms. I mean, 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom and rent it to a bigger family. We are living here for about 16 years now, more than 16 years, and we are not changing any outer space. We already have the separate entrance with 2 different entrances into the basement unit. So we are not changing much, even interior, but we want to legalize these units. That's why we applied for it. And also I noticed that we are closer to Shepherd Avenue and very close to my house. There is one multi-use residential building is approved recently, last year in November, for about 352 residential units that is within 500 meters from my house. So I would like you to approve this one so that I can utilize my basement space to the maximum.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Is that all, Akila? Do you want to add anything more?
I think that's all. If you have any questions, I presented the document, but
Yes.
I just want to be brief.
No, thank you. I appreciate that, Akila. We did receive your very detailed presentation to us, and I must say it's very well done and very well illustrated. So let's see what the committee members have for you in terms of questions. So Member M, yes, I could see you. Raise your hand. Go ahead.
Hi, Kila. So I appreciate your desire to be able to further rent out other aspects of your house. That being said, it's not quite applicable to compare your single family home to that of an apartment complex, because that apartment complex has completely different zoning permissions on that site. Every property has a unique attribute of what their zoning requirements are, and yours being, as city staff says, is a residential zone that is meant for low residential single family homes, and it has a neighborhood characteristic to it as opposed to apartment type characteristics. So when you have houses or built forms such as single family homes, there is a limit of the number of secondary suites to be able to be operated in that, as it's not the intention for secondary homes, for single family homes to operate like an apartment. So in staff's opinion, and we, the committee, we do hold our technical staff in high regard with what their recommendations are. We have to trust the professionals that provide us this information.
I understand that
It's not appropriate for this particular site. So with that being in mind, I just wanted to explain to you why staff have potentially put forth this recommendation of refusal.
No, I understand what their proposal now only, because we applied this in March, and at that time the city is directed us to get the plumbing report and everything, the fire and safety and everything. We presented it, even park levy fee is appraised, and we received that letter as well. The concern is unused basement space. That's what we want to utilize it now. And at the same time, I don't want to go for a bigger family in the basement. This is my residential house. I'm living here. I know, and also all my neighbors are supporting this.
So I appreciate that. However, the current permissions do not allow for more than one secondary suite for the reasons that I just outlined. So I was just trying to provide some sort of education as to the position of staff's comments.
Thanks. Yes.
Thank you, Member M. Any other comment, members of the committee? Member Gary, please.
Yes, just a comment. I think it's difficult to say that the intent of the zoning bylaw is being met here. I think it's pretty clear that it's one suite that's mentioned. So, yeah, I think that's the difficulty with the application. I'm in my view, the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is not being met. That's my comment.
Further to Gary's position, it's not that you're not allowed to have a secondary suite. You're more than welcome to have a secondary suite, and therefore it could be a larger secondary suite, but it's your preference to just not have it be for one family, but for multiple families. And, you know, unfortunately, like Gary said, it just doesn't meet the intent of the bylaw, as the intent of the bylaw is to have the main house, the main use as a single family home, and a secondary use being only one secondary suite. If you have multiple secondary suites, you're changing the intent where your house becomes more like a rooming house versus a single family home, which is not the intent of this zone.
No, that's why I don't want to have a rooming house. That's why I want to have a 2 single units in the basement, because the rooming house, I can have 1 kitchen and multiple rooms. I can have 4 rooms there. That I want to go for a family, but at the same time, I want to go for a small family, a couple or single professional in my basement. I understand the zoning differences now only after 6 months. I started understanding when I investigated these further. But the point I'm raising here is we are not changing anything. We are not going to increase the population. Instead of having a family of 6, I want to have 2 different couples. So that means 4. So the technicality and legality is different than practicality that I'm looking for.
Okay, thank you, Akila. We have 2 more. Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Akila, for your explanation. We hear you, and I understand your circumstances, which are unique, which is from your viewpoint. But as the other members of the committee were elaborating on the point that we have to look into the broader perspective, and the zoning, you know, the zone where you are living, or the properties there, the RD zone, residential detached. For that zone, we can feel that having more than 1 suite will be in line with the zoning bylaw. So even if we consider it what your circumstances is, I think I will not be able to support that in a larger context. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mohammed. Member Macaulay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too want to acknowledge what the resident is hoping to do, and to state that if what they're wanting to do is put 2 apartment units in the basement of this house, that means it becomes a 3-unit house. Yes. And a variance is only allowed to be a small adjustment. To make this into 3 units is not a minor variance. It's unfortunate, but we have to look at what is minor and within our purview. It is not within our purview. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comment, Member Macaulay. I think we've discussed this application at length. Before we take the matter into committee, Akila, is there anything you would like to say at this time?
I just want to point one last thing. R zone and RD zone, in our zone, they are allowing 2 units, right?
That is
So
correct.
even our zone is smaller houses, they are allowing 2 different units. So RD zone with a bigger house, why it's not allowed?
What I can tell you, Akila, is that in your zone, you can have 2 units on the property, one being the primary and one the secondary. What other zones permit is something that we will not be able to comment. Each zone has its own permissions, own attributes, and reasons why more than 1 or 2 units are permitted. What we can tell you is that this particular zoning does not permit more than 2 units, one being primary and one being secondary.
Just so you're clear, Akila, your zone permits the exact same thing, 2 units. Your request, as Member Macaulay said, is for 3 units, and that is where the issue is. By doing this application, you're asking for 3 units to be within your house, and that is unprecedented within single detached zones.
I think she understands that. That's her application. I don't think that's a concern. I think she was questioning why other zone, which could be a smaller zone, may permit more. And that's what I was trying to establish, is that that's certainly not something that we can comment on in terms of how many units other zones provide. What we can tell you, what's before us, is that your particular zone, the RD zone, permits 2 units on the property, one being your primary unit, another being the secondary unit. So the application before us is asking for a 3rd unit, which is something that the committee has to make a decision on today. Okay, so Akila, one last chance. Anything else before we go into committee?
That's all.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you, Akila, for your time. All right, members of the committee, we now take the matter into discussion, into committee. Any comment, anything that you would like to say? Or if not, then can I please have a motion? Member M.
I think we had a very good discussion today, and it is unfortunate that the applicant is only just made aware of, in the past 6 months, the restrictions of her zone. With that being said, I side with city planning staff in the opinion that this application is not minor and does not meet the intent of the zoning bylaw for the RD zone, and I recommend a refusal.
Okay, you have seconder, Member Gary.
Madam Chair, I'll second that recommendation and motion to refuse this minor variance. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? Motion is carried. Akila, your application has been refused. All right. That brings us to the end of item number 4. We now move to item number 8, which was held, because we had a member of a public that had registered to speak. So item number 8 is an application for 6 Fallingbrook Crescent. And this is to construct a 2-story front addition with a new front porch. A previous committee of adjustment had permitted a floor area of 315. The application before us is requesting for 1 variance for a additional floor space of up to 328 square meters. We have Lorne Rose with us. Lorne, you're the agent, you're with us?
Yes, I am, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And just want to check, Caroline Howard, you're with us?
I am here, yes.
Thank you, Caroline. So just bear with us for a few more minutes. We will first discuss the application with the agent, and then we will come to you. So Lorne, would you like to present something, or would you like to say to the committee about your application?
Sure. So this application is parallel to a building permit that is, I just got an email at 10:04 this morning from Diana Yakub, the manager, that the permit will be issued today. This is because we're 13 square meters over in the attic space with this proposal. What we're asking to do is remove or make smaller a mechanical room that is in the 3rd floor. There will be no physical difference to the neighborhood from the permit that's being issued right now to what we're proposing. It's just a smaller, well, no mechanical room in the attic now. So it's sort of it's one of my points that density is not an indicator of impact on the neighborhood. So whether we have this extra 13 square meters or not, no one from the street could ever tell. And so that's all I really have to say. At this point, I can respond to comments. Yes.
I have a question. Sorry, Member M, I will come to you quickly. So the building permit that's being issued today, and again, that's not my jurisdiction, but out of curiosity, would that be for 328 square meters?
No, it's for the 13 square meters less. So there's a mechanical room on the attic.
I see.
Mechanical rooms and attics do not count as square footage.
Okay.
So we're taking it out, so now it counts as square footage.
Okay, got it. Perfect. What I'm understanding is that this will not affect his building permit. Yeah, it's yeah.
I'm actually sort of confused now.
Okay,
So what you said, Hannah, confused me. So I thought it was just that they had an active building permit application, and through the reviews of the building permit applications, there is another zoning examiner that takes a look to make sure that everything complies with the variance that was previously sought, and that there was a mechanical room that is required and wasn't captured in the floor space for the previous building permit, as well as the previous variance that now needs to be captured. Is that the understanding, or am I completely backwards here?
You're actually completely backwards. Sorry to say.
Okay.
Can the committee members pull up the third floor plan?
Okay, sure. Brian can help us pull up the third floor plan. But while we do that, and I wasn't paying attention to Member M's question, but while you explain on that plan, perhaps you can sort of further advise me on the permit that's being issued today. Because as you know, if the committee approves this variance today, this variance will not be in effect until after 20 days.
Correct.
You understand that. Okay. So so based on what you understand, would that have any issue with the building permit that's being issued today?
None whatsoever. The building permit issued today complies completely with the bylaw.
Okay, perfect. As long as you understand that. All right.
So I can explain. If you put up the third floor, it's a quick explanation.
Okay, Brian.
Okay, so wait, now I'm even more confused. So if the bylaw, the permit that's being issued today completely complies, why do we have a variance before us then?
If you put up the third floor, it'll be really clear.
All right, just give us a moment, Brian. Brian, are you?
I'm sorry. It's intricacies in the bylaw that make no sense to me either, but I happen to understand it. So do you see the area north of the staircase? That the square or rectangle north of the staircase on the page. That is a mechanical room now. We want to remove that mechanical room. The mechanical room does not count as square footage, but when you take it out, it counts as square footage. So we're not changing the roof line. We're not changing anything. We're just taking space that was previously not counted as square footage and making it square footage. I don't know if that's any clearer, but that's what we're doing.
Through the
building permit that's being issued shows a mechanical room north of the stairs there.
Through the chair, can you confirm with the applicant? There is a variance here for GFA, an increase of GFA by 13 square meters.
It's 100% required because once you take the mechanical room out, the gross floor area goes up. No one can see any of this. It's all within the roof structure. So I'm not.
If it doesn't count, why would the gross floor area go up?
Because let me explain this. So a mechanical room is a permitted exemption from gross floor area.
Right.
Everything north of, if you saw the existing plan, everything north of the staircase
is
a mechanical room. We're taking the mechanical room and getting rid of it.
So why wouldn't
that area that was previously not included in square footage now has to be included? We could lie about this and say we're not doing it, but we want to legalize it.
I'm still super confused because you said it's exempt. So if it's exempt, why is it being included in it?
Because there's no mechanical room now. You see that there's nothing written.
Hello, I'm losing all.
So what was the mechanical room? it's no longer going to be a mechanical room, so then now it counts. Okay.
Exactly.
All
I
right.
know it's
that was
complicated.
so
Don't feel
complicated.
badly. It's complicated.
Okay, I get it now. Okay. So it's essentially basically a change of use within that space, but that space was always constructed. But now that it's no longer a mechanical room, it counts.
You got it now.
I understand what's
We
happening.
have lost Gary McKay though.
Okay.
Maybe he went with the mechanical room.
Okay. I totally understand what's happening here. So today, the permit that's being issued, that shows a mechanical room, and it does not count towards the GFA, which means that you do not require variance for that. It meets the zoning as of today. Now,
Correct.
should the committee grant you this variance, right, for the additional 13 square meters, you will then automatically be permitted to convert your mechanical room into living space? Is that what I'm
Correct.
hearing?
And in 20 days, I will send a revision to the building department that legalizes it.
I see. So you would still require an update to the building permit?
Yeah, just, well, to legalize it.
To legalize it, okay.
You know, yeah.
Okay, I just want to have staff confirm that. Colin, please go ahead.
Through the chair, my understanding is that the building permit drawings must show the mechanical room. And this is outside of the jurisdiction of the committee. But I guess the applicant probably knows this already, that so you don't have to come back to committee of adjustment for another application.
I think that's what he just explained.
Okay,
that
fair enough.
So as of today, the permit that's being issued meets the requirement as of today of the zoning bylaw. Should the committee grant him the variance today, he will then have that additional GFA where he will convert his mechanical to a living space to count towards GFA, and then he will have to legalize that additional 13 square meters through an updated building permit drawing or something. Okay?
You got it. That's correct.
Okay.
The mechanical room will be in the basement, so we don't need it in the attic.
Okay. As long as you understand that you'll need to go to the building department again to update your permits, and Colin.
100%.
Okay.
I understand that.
Colin.
Through the chair, and I may get clarification from Brian Caradonna, who's the case manager for this file, is that the application as currently submitted did not have any reference to a third floor at all. And so I guess it was for, Brian, if you can confirm, it was for a front story addition, and
it's a 2-story front addition with a new front porch.
Right.
Okay. So let's for a moment, let's park the building permit on the side. Let's think about that. We were never told about that, right? As of today, what is before us is this application, right? And the additional requested GFA. Can we just focus on this variance before us and not worry about building permit and ignore what's being issued? I think that would be fair.
That's fair.
Okay. All right. Because I don't want to get ourselves into any discussion that's not in our purview, right? I only asked because I wasn't sure about what's happening there. Okay. So committee members, I think we could agree that we should only be focusing on what is before us today, the application itself and the variances. What has happened in terms of building permit and what's required should not be part of our discussion. We only got into it just for additional clarification, but I don't think that should affect us in terms of our decision on this application. Okay? All right. So having said that, any further questions? Member Macaulay?
Yes, I understand what he's doing, and I understand that he's got an application in here for a building permit that's ready to be issued. And what he's doing is making some changes to the interior of the building. A question to other members, to ensure that the overall size of the building does not change. In other words, he doesn't add the other
13 square meters GFA. Yeah.
To the ground floor to the side. should we not attach the site plan that he has submitted as part of our approval? It's a question. I'd like to hear whether people think that that's necessary or whether it's not necessary.
Okay. Go ahead, Member M.
So do you mean the site plan or do you mean the floor plans? Because I don't believe the site plan shows this internal workings.
And I would be hesitant in tying a floor plan, to be honest, because if we tie it to the floor plan and if they need to do some internal changes or anything, the plans will not match. So my advice to the committee would be to not consider tying a floor plan. If at all, if it's of any benefit, only the site plan. But as explained by the applicant, there's absolutely no impact to the exterior. There will be no addition or anything to the building. It's just a conversion of internal space to something else that would start to count towards the GFA. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And I have no problem with it. I'm just being super careful that he doesn't need to suddenly expand the overall size of the building. I see Mr. Said has a comment.
But before that, can we just speak to the public person? I think we have yet to bring forward Carolyn.
And this is why I was trying to say, just let's move on. Member Said, is that a comment or a question?
Thank you, Madam. Just a comment, like after clarification from the applicant, I am very much clear. And I am taking this application, the variances which are in front of me.
Yes.
And that is the increase in GFA, which is only 13 square meter. And we understand there is no changes in the exterior and total of the building. I am okay with that. I am willing to support that. And
not yet. Not yet.
Yeah. I'm just giving my comments that I am clear on that.
Okay.
And also, if the applicant have the understanding of the urban forestry conditions, that will be absolutely fine.
Okay. All right. So let's wait. Let's go and talk to Caroline first to hear her concerns as well before we come back. And then certainly we'll give more opportunities to speak. So thank you, Lauren. Just bear with us. We are now going to speak with Caroline. Caroline?
Oh, hi there.
Hi.
I'm very confused because I have a picture of the proposed building. It is a 2-story addition, so it will be adding square footage to the house. So I'm not sure what the mechanical room has to do with this. This house has already been increased in size 2 times. This will be the 3rd time. It's death by 1,000 cuts. I have a window that will be blocked now by the 3rd addition to this house. Most of these houses were built on a curve 90 years ago with windows so everybody has east-facing windows. We're not looking at brick walls, as the applicant also has in their home. So I will now have my window blocked and have to endure a 3rd increase in the size of this house. The mechanical room notwithstanding, that's in the attic. I don't care what happens there, but there's a 2-story onto the of this house. So I'm not sure why he's saying in square footage. There is.
Okay, thank you, Caroline. Member, before we do, please, I'm just cautious of the time here. Caroline, is there anything else that you would like to say?
Again, my understanding is that you're not even allowed a 3rd floor on your houses in Scarborough. I recognize that that's a grandfathered thing, but to try to say that this is just a minor thing that is not going to be visible from the street is ridiculous. The entire facade is changing. It's a 2-story addition with a new porch on it. This is the 3rd time I'm immediately beside it. This is the 3rd time this house will be increased. It's already well beyond the 0.5% or the 50% that you're allowed. So I'm not sure why we continue to allow people to keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger.
Okay. Member M, I just want to make sure that it's a comment and not clarification because I would like to seek this clarification directly from the applicant at this time. Okay? I think it's his responsibility to address the concerns, but if it's a comment, I'm happy to hear right now.
It's just a comment, and it's just that it is confusing of a process, Carolyn, and I totally appreciate that. Nothing is happening beyond what I believe was previously approved. It's just a technical change in the layout
Let
internally to the building.
let the applicant explain that, please. All right.
Okay.
So I will move to Lauren. Lauren, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Okay,
So you heard the comments. Could you please respond? Thank you.
I did. So to be clear, Carolyn is not wrong. There is an addition. We're building on top of a single-story addition out the front, but we're building the second floor on top of an existing single-story and a porch. My comment was that we're not adding anything. We will get a building permit today that complies with the zoning, with this addition on the front. There's an existing one-story addition. We're building exactly in the same place. We're building on the second floor. So there is an addition, and that's why it was important to talk about the permit that's being issued today. So the permit issued today, we're not open to this committee of adjustment process. What we're trying to do is legalize the removal of a mechanical room in the third floor and have that space count as square footage. That's all we're doing today.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So members of the committee, any further questions for Lauren, or do you want to take the matter into committee? All right. I do not see any comments. Brian, can we have the screen back, please? Let me see if I can see everyone. Okay, I didn't see any hands raised up. So members of the committee, you do, Mohammed? No. We take the matter into committee now. Members of the committee, any comments? Any concerns? None? All right. Member Macaulay.
Yes. I guess a question of staff. The third floor, the conversion of this space to the rest of the floor area, is the third floor without this additional square footage totally legal, so that you can occupy that space?
Through the chair, in terms of the there was a zoning review that was done on this.
Thank you.
And the zoning review did not identify a variance required to construct a third floor.
Okay, thank you. So, Anne, I'm going to reiterate, the zoning did not identify any additional variance, which means the variance before us is only increase in the GFA and no other variance.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. All right, I think we've given it enough, a good hearing now. I would like to request the committee members to put forward a motion. Member Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The variance before the committee for this application, I think it's minor, so I move the motion for approval of this application, subject to the condition of urban forestry.
Thank you. May I have a seconder? Member Macaulay?
Madam Chair, I will second that motion, subject to the conditions of urban forestry.
Okay. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried. The application has been approved, subject to condition of urban forestry. Thank you very much for your time. That brings us to the end of item 8. We are at noon right now. Would the committee like to take a 10-minute break? All right. Okay. 10 or 15?
Well, I think 15, Madam Chair. I've been sitting in this chair for 3.5 hours, so I think a break is needed.
You certainly deserve a 15-minute break, Member Mackay. So I am going to move the motion to have a break for 15 minutes, and we will resume at 12:10. Okay? So for those of you listening in, we are on a short break for 15 minutes. We will come back at 12:10. Thank you. We're good? Okay, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm back.
Fine.
We're back here. All committee members ready to go? All right, perfect. Right. Well, welcome back, everyone. Thank you for your patience. We are back to discuss the remainder of the items on the agenda. The next item on the agenda that we will be talking or discussing is, that was held for further discussion, is item 16. And committee members just confirm if it is item 16, 14?
I believe it's item 14, Madam
It's
Chair.
item 14, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Thanks,
Yeah, item
everyone.
14.
That was unanimous. It is item 14. I will take that as item 14. Okay, so item 14, 2500 Lawrence Avenue East. And we have, this is a minor variance application. This application has a staff report from Community Planning and Transportation Services. Let's see who we have online with us. So we have Mark and Maria. Mark and Maria, are you there?
Yes, we are.
Perfect. And I do not see any other members who have registered to speak. We had held down this item because there were conditions of community planning, and I think committee members had some questions about this as well. So this application proposes to permit a vehicle repair use and for a reduction in the required number of parking spaces. Okay, so the committee wanted to talk about the sunset clause or the timelines for this. You had suggested that you initial application was for in perpetuity. You recommended it for 5 years, correct, Mark and Maria? You're requesting that
That's
it be
right.
for 5 years, okay. And the recommendation from community planning is for 3 years. So would you like to say anything about your request here?
Sure, I'll just speak briefly. Sorry, is there an echo? Am I okay? Because I hear an echo.
There was a brief echo, but it has gone. And I would request members of the committee to please mute themselves. Please mute yourselves when you're not speaking. Okay. Thank you. Please go ahead,
Okay.
Maria.
Thank you. I just wanted to note that the vehicle repair garage has been in Unit 10 since 1997. So my husband and I actually took over in 2016. And like you had mentioned, we initially asked for perpetuity or permanency in this location because it meets our needs. Also, we found out that another unit at 2500 Lawrence Avenue was approved permanently. However, after discussion with the city staff, we were informed that this was not possible. Over the past few years, we've developed relationships with the community, our neighbors, and our fellow tenants. And as you can see, we've had extensive support from our landlord, fellow tenants, and our clients as well. We are able to provide our services at fair prices because of our location. We feel that 5 years will allow us to look for viable options while running our small family business and contribute to the economy as well as the community. Our initial efforts to look for alternate options in Scarborough, where we would prefer to stay, are not feasible to us due to the significantly higher price. We have reached out to the city's business retention and expansion team to help us find something that is comparable to what we have now, so that we can continue to be competitive and offer fair prices to the community. So respectfully, we are asking for your leniency and extend the approval period to 5 years instead of 3.
Okay, thank you, Maria. That was helpful. If there's nothing further, I will move to the members of committee. Member M.
Hi, Maria. Can I just get a little bit of clarification here? So you are looking to relocate because of this constant every 3 or 5 years having to go through this process? Like, am I understanding that if this was a permanent condition, you would be staying where you are?
Absolutely, yes.
I see. And can you elaborate on why exactly community planning feels it's not appropriate for it to be in perpetuity? There wasn't a lot of that information in the report that I read. It just said that it recommends this 3-year limit. Can you provide some insight as to what the discussions were amongst the timing of this?
The only thing that I understood was that in comparison to the other unit that was already approved, is because that unit already had half of it was in the right usage. I don't know if that makes any sense. And that we, like, a repair garage is not permitted, is not, or the building is not zoned, or the unit, sorry, our unit specifically is not zoned for a repair garage, even though we a repair garage has been placed, has been in there since 1997.
Okay, so what I understand then, and now that I actually read back a little bit more into my notes, is that it's not that staff are necessarily against the idea of it being permanent, but being permanent is something that they feel is not minor, that should be handled by a zoning bylaw amendment. Is there a reason why you wouldn't feel comfortable going through the zoning bylaw process to make it permanent in order to stay here forever?
To be honest, I couldn't afford the fees.
I see. Okay. Okay, so I totally respect the situation that you're in, and I personally don't see much of a difference between 3 and 5 years. I'm willing to support your request. I defer to the other members of my committee to understand how they feel about this. Now, I am a little bit conflicted, because while we are to really rely on the professional judgment of our staff, and I'm supposed to take off my planning hat. So I am a planner, designated planner. So in my personal opinion, I feel like it's appropriate to give you that in perpetuity, but I know that that's not the recommendation of staff. So I defer this conversation to my other colleagues to see how you feel about trying to provide this person some leniency in order to stay in the location she's at, as opposed to trying to find another spot for her.
Okay, thank you, Member M. I have 2 hands raised. I will just pick one. Member Gary, go ahead, please. And then Member Macaulay, I will come after that to you.
They have very good letters of support. It seems like a good operation, and I'm in favor of giving them a 5-year variance as a request. I think that's reasonable. Thank you.
Okay, Member Macaulay, before I come to you, Colin has some advice for us as staff.
Through the chair, this is located within an employment district, and the reason, and I'm not going to speak for community planning, but this is just factual information, is that the use is currently not permitted in the zone, and any new uses that would be should the committee approve it, the reason why is because it would trigger a municipal comprehensive review. So this is possibly why community planning is not recommending this as a permanent use, right? And it's only a temporary use. And there's probably I know the staff report does not speak specifically to it, but this is why staff are likely recommending only a temporary use for 3 years and not as a permanent use, because it's a larger city issue, policy issue.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that clarification. That certainly helps. All right, thank you, Member McKay, for your comments. I will move to Member Macaulay. You have some comments?
Yes, I have some comments. I too questioned why this was only for a temporary use, that the city staff were recommending a 3-year temporary use, and wondered what city staff were thinking would happen in 3 years. I'm not really in favor of giving temporary uses unless we expect some change. And I don't see any change, and if the use has been in operation since 1997, I think it's a reasonable use without any impact on the adjacent owners. It is right beside the CN rail line, and I wasn't sure whether Metrolinx needed some of the land for expansion, but I'm told that that's not the issue. So, as I said, I don't see anything wrong with this use. I'm willing to support it for 5 years. I don't want to see it again in 3 years and then 3 years and 3 years. So I will, I don't have any other questions other than, yeah, a question, I guess, to the owners. If we gave it to you for, if approval was granted for 5 years, would you still be considering a relocation? Or would you be trying to legalize what you've got?
Sorry. Okay. When we looked into, bylaw, I think it was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're a small family. Landlords go that. However, that is something that they.
Maria, unfortunately, we can't hear you. There's a lot of interruption. Could you repeat that, please?
Oh, okay. Sorry. So we would love to be able to apply for a permanent usage and through the bylaw amendment. However, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's not something that we could feasibly afford. And that's part of the reason why we want to stay here. We just don't have that type of finance. So we would have to move, unfortunately. But when we move, we do have to find a place that is comparable to us. Otherwise, we would need to cease operations.
Okay, and you are working with the economic development staff to help you find alternative locations?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. I have some additional clarification. I see Member M and Member Said your hands, but Colin has some information for us, so I would like to hear that as well. Please go ahead, Colin.
Through the chair, is that I just want to remind the committee that there are 4 tests that need to be met. And one of those tests is, does the application meet the intent of the official plan? And the official plan is quite clear as it relates to employment uses, and introducing new uses would trigger a municipal comprehensive review. It's a larger citywide policy review.
Okay, thank you. And I think that explains because there are these employment policies that could get triggered, or this could be not in conformance with those policies. As Colin mentioned, it could trigger a municipal comprehensive review. Hence, for that purpose, staff is not considering this use on a permanent basis until that MCR takes place, or there are revisions to the employment policies at a later date. But within the current regulatory framework, and given the situation, the context, and the circumstances, staff has recommended 3 years only, and I know the request is for 5 years. So that's where we are right now. Member M, yes, I could see you. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Colin. That definitely clarifies my question from earlier. Now, this is a question that goes directly to Maria. Now, the city itself is going through their municipal comprehensive review right now, currently, for employment lands. Is this something that you could work with the existing owners of the plaza to help you achieve? Because since they're going through it already, there could be some cost savings to both you and the owner, and that's definitely something that's worthwhile, so you don't have to repeat this every 3 or 5 years, or in the event that you can't find another space that's comparable in terms of cost of lease. So I do definitely recommend you find a solution, whether it means partnering with the owner or not, and providing some feedback to community planning on the current MCR in order to find a long-term solution for your business. That being said, I understand why now it remains temporary, and in the condition it is today, I think that we have to uphold this temporary condition, but I do think that there are mechanisms for you to achieve the relief you need without necessarily the same amount of cost that you think to initiate the process yourself.
Okay, thank you,
Okay,
Member
thank you.
M. Thank you, Member M. Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I have a direct question to Maria. You were mentioning that you have been trying to look for the viable options, and you could not manage it. The earliest approval was for a period of 5 years, and there was a condition that city was very considerate towards that the applicant, before expiry of these 5 years, the applicant will apply for the zoning bylaw amendments for the permit. So have you worked on that, or you were just looking for the relocation of the business?
Sorry, I understand. So we did we under,
We can't hear you, Maria.
oh, hello.
Yes.
Hi. Can you?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, we can hear you now.
So, unfortunately, when we purchased the business, we didn't do our due diligence and was not aware of the minor variance from 2015. And so we were made aware of the minor variance when we received the letter from the city in 2000, like fall of 2019. And then we started to work on our options. And then with COVID happening, it kind of just got extended. So that's why we didn't look for relocation or do any type of application for like the bylaw amendment because unfortunately we didn't know, and that's on us that we weren't aware.
Okay, thank you very much, Maria. That was very helpful. So any further questions for Maria before we take the matter into committee? I see none. All right. Thank you, Maria, for your time. We are now going to take the matter into committee. So, committee members, so we have a recommendation of 3 years. The applicant has requested for 5 years. We are, in my opinion, our permanent use or this to be permitted in perpetuity may not be sort of in line with the other policies that are not subject to this review, but generally speaking, at a citywide perspective. So let's not, in my opinion, this should be considered for temporary use only. Now the question is 3 years sufficient or is 5 year reasonable? 3 years does sound reasonable. However, I'm also thinking about the COVID situation. We know that 2021 would also be a difficult year for a lot of people. So I suggest if the committee can consider 5 years as a reasonable time. I see 3 hands raised. I'll start with Member M, Member Macaulay, and then Member McKay. Member M.
I want to echo your sentiments, Madam Chair. Now that I have a better understanding of the current official plan policies, I do not feel that permanent use is appropriate at this time. However, I do feel that the temporary use, given that it's been in this location since the 90s, operating as such, is appropriate to continue. I really feel that there is no impact increasing it from 3 years to 5 years. Essentially, this operation has been this way since the 90s, and I don't see any change happening between the 3 and 5 year mark. And given the COVID situation, like you had said, I think it's best to give her a little bit of an extension. Thank you.
Thank you, Member M. Member Macaulay?
Thank you. I've taken a look at this situation. I don't really see a problem with the use at this location, but we're being recommended that it be in there for a temporary period so that they could relocate or submit a bylaw amendment application with the other landowners on that in that complex. So I would recommend that we give them a approval for 5 years. That allows them a fairly lengthy time. It'd be 5 years from now, so it'd be 2026, I believe, for them to either relocate or work with the other owners to get a bylaw amendment to permit that use. Or in fact, to talk to city staff about whether staff are looking at relocating all these uses to an alternate use. I think we don't have enough information right now to give a full approval for a permanent use. So my recommendation would be also a 5 year time period.
Okay, thank you very much, Member Macaulay. I'll just say that we should leave the matters between the applicant and the city staff to determine what kind of approvals may be required. Where it could be more than just a zoning bylaw, who knows, because we do not have the full understanding of the policy framework before us. So I would be hesitant in advising that to the applicant. I would just say that take advantage of the 5 years, talk to city staff, see what the options are, and work very closely with economic development to find a new location that serves their needs, business needs as well. Member Gary.
Madam Chair, I would, I believe the previous conditions of the community planning for a time period was to allow the applicant to come forth with a bylaw amendment.
I'm not sure if it was community planning or not. It could have been a condition by the committee imposed at the time. So I would not rely on that as a condition from community planning. Okay?
I'm not going to make any conditions other than a time period.
Okay.
Through the chair, I just want to clarify that the current staff report indicates that this is on the bottom of page 2. It is further recommended that a condition limiting the term of the use again be applied, reduced to 3 years, only to afford the business operator a reasonable opportunity to secure alternate zoning bylaw compliant accommodations. It does not, I just want to clarify, it does not speak to seeking a rezoning application.
Yeah. So I think Member McCauley was referring to previous decisions of the committee where the committee may have on their own put in that condition, which may not be reflective of community planning. So thank you for that clarification. So basically, just allowing some additional time to these business owners to find a alternate location. Okay, alternate location. Member Gary, please go ahead.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Really, my point has been covered, and I'm in support of a 5-year approval.
All right.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Member Gary. I believe we've had a good hearing on this application. I am prepared to receive a motion. Motion, please. Member M.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I put forward a motion of approval for the application at 2500 Lawrence Avenue for a period of 5 years. I do not see any other conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Member Gary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I'm pleased to second this motion to approve this use for 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? Motion carries. The application has been approved, and they're subject to the condition that it be for 5 years.
Through the chair, I just wish to clarify when we're doing the decisions, it's only for the 5 year. There are other conditions in the community planning staff report.
Oh, okay.
Does the committee wish to impose those conditions or not?
Thanks, Colin.
Apologies. Yes, I missed that. So I amend my my motion to include a period of 5 years, the area and access, as well as the indoor only and signage.
Okay, so I will just, for the benefit of everyone, I know we were so caught in the timing of it that we missed the other recommendations, which I believe are equally important. And Maria, you probably have a copy of that report as well. So I hear that Amy has amended her motion to approve the application for 5 years and subject to the condition 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. As per community planning staff report. Member McKay?
Madam Chair, I would second that approval.
Okay, all right.
As amended.
Okay, so motion was amended. The seconder has also in favor of that amended motion. All in favor? Motion carries. The application has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Colin, for flagging that to us. I know we were very caught up in the timing of it. Okay, now we move to our next item that was held, and that is item 16. Am I correct? Okay. Item 16 is for 1960.
Madam Chair, it's item, I think, 17 for ATLEE.
So we don't have 16? 16 was done?
We have 16, Madam Chair.
Oh, we do? We held
Item
it?
16 is held, yeah.
Oh, sorry, my apologies. I thought I didn't realize we held that one.
Thank you. So item 16, for 1960 to 1970 Lawrence Avenue East. And this application is for a minor variance to convert the Unit 18 to a takeout restaurant. And I do recall we had started some discussion, but it was getting into more and more details, so we had to hold the item. So I will invite the applicant, Evan.
Oh, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you, Evan. So thank you for your patience. Would you like to say anything with regards to the application, or do you want us to proceed with the questions?
So I'd like to give an overview on the history on this property. So there are two previous minor variance applications. Is it okay for me to proceed?
Yes, please. 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Oh, sure. So in 2019, there was a minor variance application to increase the allowed gross floor area of eating establishment from 370.6 square meters to 524 square meters. This has been approved by the committee, and as a result, Unit 14, which was previously an auto wash detailing shop, it was allowed to be converted to a takeout restaurant. I believe this could clarify Mr. Syed's previous comments. So this unit is different from Unit 18, which is an auto repair shop, and this was never converted back to auto wash or detailing shop. This is currently a takeout restaurant. And last year in 2020, we subsequently filed another application to further increase the allowed maximum area to 525 square meters. This was also approved by the committee, and as a result, Unit 13, which is currently a flower shop, has been approved to be converted to an eating establishment. So I've confirmed with the property owner that they're underway to build a restaurant at Unit 13. So, and now coming to the current proposal, this is for Unit 18, so which is currently an auto repair shop, and we're obviously trying to convert it to a takeout restaurant. So this is further increase the allowed gross floor area of eating establishment to 744.41 square meters. So yeah, that I thought it'd be for me to go over a bit of history on this.
No, that's very helpful. Appreciate that, Evan, for your time. Committee members, Evan has just described, gave us a brief presentation on some history and the application itself. Any questions? Member Macaulay.
Yes. Perhaps either the applicant or staff can confirm that in actual fact, this is an application which will have the result of allowing 10 small restaurants on this plaza. So although it's dealing with Unit 18, the approval would not just be for Unit 18. The approval would be to allow an increase in food establishments to 744 meters squared rather than 400 meters squared. And so it's not related to one unit only.
Okay, I will request Colin to clarify that.
Through the chair, that's correct. It is for the entire site. So it's not just one unit, it's the total number of units on the site.
Is that okay, Member Macaulay?
That's okay. I think that is correct that we're getting, as I said, I read the applicant's request saying that there's 10 small restaurants on the site, and he's just asking that Unit 18 be added to the existing ones so that he has a total gross floor area of of 744.41 meters squared.
That is
He
correct.
has also provided us some information regarding the number of parking spaces that are required. There are 38 spaces on site, and according to the applicant, only 4 are required.
But
he's not asking for any change in parking, so that's not an issue that's
No.
before us.
No, and nor do we have any variance associated with parking. So I would just consider that as additional information, but not
That's correct.
necessarily delve ourselves into the details of it.
Okay, that's all my comments.
Thank you. Any other question? Member M? Sure.
It's not a question, it's just a statement. We really need to just focus on the one variance, which is the increase of the GFA from that 590 to 744. Do we feel that that variance is minor or not? I mean, the parking and the history, all of that to me is sort of secondary to, is the variance that's before us actually appropriate? And I just want to state that.
Okay, thank you. That's why we're here. Members of the committee, any further comment? I see none. Evan, do you want to say anything before we take the matter into committee?
No, that's all.
Okay.
That's all for now.
Thank you very much. All right, committee members, I take the matter into committee now. If there are no further comments or questions, can I please have a motion? Member Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Evan, for your clarifications. I am willing to move the motion for approval, and I don't see there is any conditions attached to that.
Thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Member M, please. Member M.
I second the motion, Madam Chair.
All in favor? Thank you. The motion has been carried. The application is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. We now move to item 17. Item 17 is a minor variance application for 32 ATLEE Avenue. The purpose of the application is to construct a new 2-story detached dwelling, and we have before us 8 variances. We also have community planning staff report with a recommended condition. I have with us Leo Mastrandria. Leo, were you with us?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Leo. Just bear with me for a moment. I'll check. Is Gopi Das with us?
Yeah,
Perfect. Thank you, Gopi.
I'm here.
Thank you, Gopi. Daniela Dumas, are you with us?
Through the chair, this person has not checked in today.
Okay, thank you very much. Leo, would you like to say anything about your application, or would you like to provide a brief presentation?
I'd just like to say that our proposal is very consistent with the built form, and the variances are also consistent with what's been approved here at the committee. We do have letters of support from both adjacent neighbors, and we are willing to put the screening as per the recommendations from the staff, as well as the condition for forestry.
Okay, thank you. Members of the committee, any questions for Leo? I see none. Okay, thank you, Leo. We now move to our speaker, Gopi Das. Gopi.
No, I don't have any questions. No, I'm fine.
Do you have any concerns with the application?
No, not at all.
So you are here in support of the application?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you are here in support of this application and do not have any concerns. And I'm going to, for record, confirm that Daniela Dumas had registered to speak with us. She has not been able to connect in today, so we will have to move on. We checked in this morning. She was not connected. We've checked in again. She's not connected. So we have to move forward with hearing this application. And Gopi has just confirmed that he is here in support. So members of the committee, anything for Leo? Any question for Leo or Gopi, who is here? Okay, all right, thank you. Leo, before I take the matter into committee, anything else that you would like to say? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, please go ahead.
Not unless there's any questions.
Okay. No, I didn't see any members for any questions, so I don't see any questions. Okay, so if you're good, we now are going to move into committee. Oh, Member Said?
I think I raised my hand earlier. I was going to move a motion.
Oh.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, all right. So members of the committee, there are no questions. Please, can I have a motion? Is there a condition from Urban Forestry? Just checking. There is. Okay. Member Said always does that good job for us. All right, please go ahead, Member Said.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Leo, for having a good understanding about the community planning condition as well as the urban forestry condition. So with those conditions that you agree on that, I move the motion for approval of item number 17, subject to the condition of urban forestry as well as community planning recommendations.
Thank you. Seconder, Member Macaulay.
I will second that approval.
All right. All in favor of the motion? The motion is carried. The application has been approved subject to condition of community planning staff report and condition of urban forestry. Thank you, Leo, for your time, and thank you, Gopi, for showing up today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We now move to our next item that was held this morning. It is item number 18. The address for item 18 is 55 Harewood Avenue. The application before us is it's a long purpose. So revisions to the existing new dwellings and house for part 1 and part 2. And I believe this application was deferred by the committee on December 15 to meet statutory public hearing notice requirements. And the applicant is back before us. There are 2 parts. Each part, there are 2 lots associated with this application, and with it are 3 variances each for each lot. We have with us Jonathan. Jonathan?
Hi, Madam Chair.
Hi, Jonathan. Before you proceed, I'll just do a quick roll call. Tom Cassanda, are you there with us? Hello?
Hello, I am.
All right, perfect, Tom. So just bear with us for a few minutes. I will move over to Jonathan. Jonathan, would you like to provide a brief presentation to the committee, or do you have any comments to address to the committee?
Yes, I have a couple of things just to kind of walk through what the actual changes and what the impact of these changes are from the recent approval. So if we look at, and maybe Brian, if we could bring up the architectural plans. We are dealing with an as-built situation, and I do understand that the committee is to view this as if it is not there. But I think it is helpful when we look at the variances, the effect of this as it would fit on the adjacent neighbors, both of which are not appearing today in opposition. And I do think that is important because the impact of that really relates to both adjacent neighbors to the north and the south. So in terms of the maximum permitted building length, what we see here, and the house to the south at 57 is not a correct outline. It is a new dwelling now that is built 17 meters from the front wall. So it actually does extend further than the proposed dwelling here, which is at 17.16 meters. And if we continue, Brian, to look at the dwelling to the south, we'll see that existing dwelling at 51, even with this proposed increase of 0.16 meters, still extends further to the rear of the proposed extension of the 0.16 meters from the zoning bylaw. That's very similar to this case at the front, where we look at the minimum required front yard setback. The required front yard setback is the average of the 2 adjacent lots divided by 2, and that's where we get that front yard setback. Now, Brian, if we could maybe zoom out a little bit and just see 51 and 57, we'll see that the street today is staggered. It is not a consistent street frontage wall, where we have number 51 having a setback of 6.02 meters, and number 57 is having a setback of 8.81 meters. That's where we get this averaging of the 7.42 meters. Even with the proposal of 6.99 meters, you can see that we are located to the rear of that existing house at 51. So in terms of a street frontage, we are not protruding past either front wall of the adjacent dwellings. Now, Brian, if we could go to one of the side elevations, please. I think the impact of really what is being proposed today can be seen best here in the side elevations. What we have here is we have an existing front porch that was covered, that was previously approved. What we are here for today essentially is for two cantilevered second floor boxes that extend into that front yard setback. The front main wall of the dwelling has not moved. The request for the FSI is for that second floor bump out box at the front, as well as an additional 2.3 inches at the rear. So the existing rear yard setback that was previously approved was at 7.02 meters. The rear yard setback proposed today is at 16.95 meters. So the addition to the rear is essentially 2.3 meters. That increase in GFA is the 2.3, sorry, not 2.3 meters. I'm going so fast here trying to get it in 5 minutes, is for that 0.07 meters at the rear, as well as that front projection, 2 bays at the front. Aside from that, there is no change to what is before you today. That street front wall at the front will maintain as a cohesive look with this house not protruding out to the front, nor is that rear yard setback being altered, as this dwelling is located behind both adjacent dwellings to the north and the south. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate that quick presentation. To members of the committee. Any questions? Yes, Member Macaulay. Please go ahead, and then Member Gary. Member Macaulay, you go ahead first. Can't hear you.
This is a question of clarification. The building is substantially built, but the two bump outs that you're talking about, have they been also built and that you're asking for approval for what has been built, or have they not yet been built?
They've already been built. Everything that is before you today has been constructed. There is no additional construction proposed past what is before you today.
I guess the follow-up question of that is, when you decided that you wanted to build the additional, why did you not come forward for a revised variance before proceeding with construction?
Well, through you, Madam Chair, I don't do construction. So what I can say is this house was previously approved under a different owner. The owner of the previous approval sold these two dwellings to a new homeowner. And I guess he wanted to make some alterations. I'm not a part of that process. Like I said, I don't deal with construction or things like that. I'm a professional planner by trade, and that's what I do. But I think to come back to the impact of those 2 bays, it still does not extend past the adjacent dwelling to the south. So the impact of what we see from the streetscape is mitigated by that fact.
Okay, thank you for your answers.
Thank you, Member Macaulay. Member Gary.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So at some point, this this property was before the Toronto local appeal body. What month and year was the TLAB's decision, please?
This was not a TLAB decision. This was a C of A approval.
Okay, just looking at my notes, and perhaps I'm not correct on this. Just a moment. Sorry, Madam Chair, I'm going to need a minute, so I'll just mute, and others can speak.
Sure, no problem. Thank you, Member Gary. Any other question for Jonathan? Okay, I see none. All right. Sure, Member McKay, take your time. I will certainly get back to you once you're ready. Jonathan, is it okay if we proceed with the member, or would you like to say anything?
I would just say through you, Madam Chair, to Member Macaulay, the confusion might have been through a letter that was submitted from a neighbor that did speak to some type of an OMB decision. That was not correct. So this was 100% approved at the C of A with no TLAB or LPAT or OMB, any type of additional planning approval required.
Okay, that
thank
clears
you.
up my question then, Madam Chair. Thank you. Okay. It was not at TLAB. All right.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jonathan, for that clarification. On that note, I would move to speaking with Tom Casando.
Hello.
Hi there. So, Tom, you have,
Hi.
so you have 5 minutes, and please let us know what your concerns are.
Brian, can we go straight to slide 2? Madam Chair, committee members, as president of the Scarborough Village Residents Association, I represent the concerned citizens of this neighborhood. 53 and 55 Harewood are perfect examples of what the residents find offensive about developers' variance requests to maximize profits at the expense of existing neighbors through recharacterization of beautiful open streets into downtown street walls. These images show the equivalent of clear-cutting a forest. We should know better, but it takes these views to recognize what we have lost. Now, in 2019, the COA approved a severance and variance for these properties, and no front yard setback variance was approved. May I have slide 3, please? And leave this up for the duration. In October, the developer applied for 3 after construction variances. They built bigger, longer, and pushed forward. Sorry, can I have slide 3, please? It's important to note that despite these buildings being complete, they have not had a single inspection signed off after excavation. I don't know how they were sold when they haven't been signed off and they don't have those permits. An inspector never had the opportunity to discover that the foundations were properly located. There's an outstanding examiner notice to relocate the rear cantilever structure, which was not constructed in accordance with approved plans. The contempt for bylaws, the COA role in variance oversight, and city inspection oversight is in plain sight. Scarborough is becoming the wild, wild west of builder development. Now, the relevant front yard setback averaging bylaw 10.5.40.70 states if a lot is between 2 abutting lots, the required minimum front yard setback is the average of the front yard setback of those buildings on the abutting lots. 55 Harewood and 53 Harewood are separate buildings. To approve this variance, you must believe that the general intent of the above bylaw is maintained. And this photo is proof that it does not. There is no setback averaging between 55 and 53, even though they are separate buildings. These homes were planned to be built together, but the applicant did not want the setback averaging bylaw to be applied to these 2 homes. This application is based on an underlying deception, and I heard a bunch of them. And I would be happy to explain that, but it takes longer than my 5 minutes. So I'd be happy to explain it in follow-up. The builder took almost a half meter from the front yard shared community space and is asking for variance forgiveness. Now we have the chance to examine their contempt and measure it against the 4 tests, and it does not pass. This photo clearly shows the intent of setback averaging bylaw has not been respected. The bylaw intent is for these homes to be staggered and share the incremental setback for a gradual change to the street wall. There is no attempt to respect this. In addition, the intent of the official plan policy 4.1.5F requires honoring the prevailing setback of the buildings from the street. This street has prevailing setbacks. And you can see right here that they have not honored that prevailing setback. So this does not honor the prevailing setback or the policy. And Mr. Bankowski, with his distinct authoritative voice, is going to try to distract you from this obvious photographic evidence that the bylaw has not been maintained. He will try to get you to think about something else by rattling off a whole bunch of other facts. And I ask you not to chuckle when he does, but to stay focused And the
I would request to please have respect for all the speakers here today. Thank you, Mr. Casanda.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anything else? You are almost there with your time. 30 seconds left.
I will just wrap up.
50 seconds. Okay. All right.
Okay. And please stay focused on this photo and the fact that the bylaw has not been respected. And please set an example and deny the requested variance because it does not meet all 4 tests. It will cut into their profits a bit, but hopefully this won't happen again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Casanda. Members of the committee, any questions for Mr. Casanda at this time? Can I see the screen, please, Brian? Can I see the members, please? I can't see them. All right. Sorry for the delay. When the screen is up, I am unable to see you folks, so I have to get it off. So, Member M, please go ahead. This is a question for Mr. Casanda?
It's a kind of a question for both, because I haven't had a chance to really review in specific what the previous approval included, and the deviations from the very minimum bylaw. But anyways, my question is that this is already constructed. So in reality, it's how would we don't really have a choice, I feel, because then you would have to literally take down the building and rebuild it again. So when I'm just looking at the variances before me, it does appear to me that these numerations are minor, but what the issue is that they are in addition to approvals that were already received previously that were, I guess, ignored and constructed beyond what they got approved. So I'm just sort of perplexed at how this even happened, because this isn't a small deviation from what was approved if all 8 of these variances were not met. So can somebody just please provide me the history exactly as to how this happened?
In terms of what, Amy? The actual construction or the background into the...
because there's a process. So we went through the process of a previous hearing. They asked for, I'm assuming, what is permitted today. So all of these examples, the maximum floor area of 204, that was what was approved last time round. I don't know what the as of right was. If the as of right was something like 150, then going from 150 to 248 is a much bigger difference than going from 204 to 248. So it would be helpful for me to see the original request in comparison to this request for me to really appreciate whether these variances are minor or not.
So the previous decisions were attached to this agenda? So
yeah, I didn't
okay.
Create a comparison table.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if anybody, staff or if Jonathan has that comparison
Sure.
where we can
ask.
What it was.
Yeah, I mean, Brian has pulled up the previous decision on the minor variance, so that can help you, but we can certainly get that clarification from Jonathan. But here's the thing, Amy, right now, I asked specifically any question for Mr. Casanda because he's waiting for a question if there is any. Anything for Mr. Casanda?
No, because
Okay.
I hear him. He doesn't feel that it's minor, and I need to understand what was previously
Okay.
given.
All right. So thank you, Amy. We will certainly look at your question, but for now, if there's nothing from Mr. Casanda, Brian, can you pull down the screen? I'm sorry.
So I'm just still looking. Sorry, okay, never mind.
No, I couldn't see you. So I'm now going to ask Jonathan, maybe bring him in the conversation, and perhaps Jonathan can help Member M with the questions.
Yes. So what is the only variance that is before you today that was previously approved that's being requested new is for the FSI. The previously approved FSI was 223.99. More or less, let's call it 224 square meters. What's being proposed before you today is 231.67. So we're essentially requesting an additional 6.67 square meters from what was previously approved.
No, but I think what Member M is trying to get at is what was it that was initially, like, according to the zoning bylaw, what was the permitted FSI? So the permitted FSI.
The permitted FSI is essentially, the permitted FSI is 0.6. We were at 0.604 initially.
And now you're at?
So we were 0.04% over the initial application.
That's what she wants to know, okay.
Yeah, so if you read there through you, Madam Chair, the proposed floor space, this is the original decision, Mrs. M. The proposed floor space index is 0.604 the times lot area, or 223.99, whereas the proposal is for, sorry. Yes, Brian, thank you for helping me out. I was reading it backwards. The zoning bylaw permitted 204, sorry, I'm still going backwards. The zoning bylaw permitted 222.42, which is 0.6. We were proposing 0.6604. So it was 0.04 of a percentage. Essentially, we're talking a matter of centimeters that the original approval was over the zoning bylaw requirement.
And then this new one is to 248.72. Okay.
Yes, correct.
But then all other variances were not part of the previous application.
No.
And are just to deal with rectifying, I guess, construction errors?
Correct. Well, yes, construction errors and how they built it. But I think it's, again, it's important to look at, you know, I don't want to go over too much what my friend said there, but I can divulge very deeply into how the zoning bylaw is interpreted in terms of the average frontages. The average frontage on a severance is determined by the two adjacent dwellings that are there. It is not determined by the two new dwellings being stepped back from the street. That is not how the zoning bylaw looks at the average frontage. Average frontage is what is there from the two adjacent lots there today, not between the two dwellings that are proposed to be there. That's much like when we look at average grade. The average grade is taken from the property line that exists, not from the proposed property line between the two. So in terms of stepping back those two dwellings, that is not how the zoning bylaw is interpreted or is put in force. It is taken with the existing dwellings that are there. Secondly, and Brian, if we could actually go back to my friend's presentation there, slide 4, showing the stepping back of the buildings, I think that actually does show a perfect transition. Yes, please, one back up. So what we're failing to see here, members of the committee, is if we look all the way to the right of this screen, we see the next adjacent house, which would be 53, with that front wall that protrudes past the existing wall of 55 Harewood. That is the appropriate transition that a streetscape is looking for. In addition, the first floor of 55 Harewood is built as per the zoning bylaw for the front yard setback. The portion that we are here for to rectify is for the second floor bays that come out. So, and even with those second floor bays protruding out, they are still behind the main front wall of 53 Harewood. So this picture really does demonstrate that appropriate transition of going down a street that shows that that house to the south has the building wall that extends further past what we have here, which is the intent of the zoning bylaw.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. Member M, any further question? Yeah, for Jonathan, okay. But because we kind of jumped over a bit, I just want to make sure, any question for Tom Cassandra at this point? Because we jumped in between, nothing, okay. Tom, if you're on with us, please, as you heard, there are no further questions for you, and we've heard your comments, and we will now request Jonathan to address your concerns. All right, so Jonathan, you were able to answer Member M's question, but I hope you jotted some good notes when Mr. Cassandra was speaking. Could you address his concerns, please?
Yes. I'm not really sure I heard many concerns with the actual project other than what he believed was the skirting of bylaws and things like that. In terms of inspections, essentially, I'm not sure how many members are aware of this. Inspectors generally don't clear a lot of things throughout the process. it is often a mad scramble at the end of a building permit to have things cleared. So in terms of the as-built, what is there in terms of the foundation? I have an as-built foundation drawing that was presented to the inspector, from what I understand, because it was provided to myself from the surveyor. So in terms of the foundation and the footings, general inspections aren't marked off by saying, okay, plumbing is done. It's generally done at the conclusion of a project. I don't like it. I'm not sure why inspectors do that, because often you may have one inspector that's now left and been relocated, and now there's a mad scramble to try to contact that old inspector to go back in the records. So it does become some of an issue. But I think what we have to really focus on here is the impact of what is before you today. And in this case, we can see the impact of that front yard setback. We can see that continued transition along Harewood Drive at the front. In terms of the building length that is proposed, we are talking about 0.16 meters in excess length. That is the equivalent of 6 inches to the rear. Even with that 6 inches, it still does not extend past either dwelling to the north and the south. And as we saw in my friend Mr. Cassandra's photos, that house to the north has been newly constructed. It is not identified as that on my survey, so you don't see the length of it. But as you would see that and assume that that house would be extending to 17 meters, and we know that that house has an increased front yard setback, which would extend further into the rear yard. And lastly, we look at impact. The impact really is on the two adjacent neighbors that are there from this added length of 0.16 meters, as well as the reduction request for the front yard setback to those second floor bays. And neither one is before you today. And as you probably know, I don't often rely on neighbors for support and things like that. But I think it is telling that the impact of what is there that they can experience is not offensive to them. And I'm happy to answer any additional questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for clarifying that the reduction in the front yard setback only pertains to the window bays on the second floor, and for all intents and purposes, the main wall at the front of the house meets the front yard setback as required by the zoning bylaw. So, members of the committee, questions for Jonathan? Just to comment that typically we, in such situations where the setback is related to the window bay or some other feature, we typically tie it to the site plan, but in this situation, it's already built. So I just thought, I don't know if there's any merit. Should the committee, approve the application? Would there be any merit? I just wanted to make that as a comment if someone's thinking about that front yard reduction. But other than that, if there are no further questions for Jonathan, I would like to take the matter into committee. Jonathan, any wrap-up comments before we proceed to the committee?
No, I think we can see what is there, and again, that appropriate transition from the streetscape. We are not over height. It really deals with those two second floor front bay windows. It is really the impact of what we see at the streetscape there, and it does provide that appropriate transition along the streetscape.
Okay, thank you very much. Member Macaulay? No? I can't hear you. We can't hear you. You're on mute.
Until we're going into discussion.
Yeah, so we are taking the matter into discussion. I had asked Jonathan and he provided his comments at the end, and now we take the matter into committee. You're on mute again.
Many times.
Sorry, Anne, couldn't hear you.
We can't hear you.
You're on mute, Anne. You've been on mute for the past couple minutes.
Go ahead. Speak. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Good. Thank you. Okay. This is a comment. I'm very conflicted over this application. It's a variance request I think had the variance come before us, we would have looked at it appropriately and would have perhaps said, yes, that's an appropriate variance. We can deal with it, and we would I would recommend approval. The fact that they have gone ahead and built and completed the building without coming forth for a variance really does upset me. And I asked Jonathan if there was any reason why during the construction, when they realized that they
And
weren't
and
meeting
I don't
the-
want to go back to question and answer. That's why I precisely asked if the
I'm
matter.
not,
Yeah.
I'm not asking any questions of Jonathan.
But
I'm
you-
just simply repeating that he said, sorry, you let me start again. I'm conflicted with this application. My concern is, had this application come before us with all the documentation and the description of how it was proposed, I at least would probably have recommended approval. What we have is a request for an approval after the effect. And that becomes a problem because we don't have very many options. We're not likely, and it's not reasonable to tell him to tear the whole thing down because it doesn't meet the zoning bylaw. So as I said, I am conflicted, and I want to put that conflict out there very clearly as to where I'm standing. Thank you.
Okay, and just as a comment, Member Macaulay, and I assume you understand that any time, even if it's an as-built situation, it is coming after the fact, we are still to consider this as a brand new application. What is before you is what we have to run our 4 tests under the Planning Act and review the minor variances before us in the light of those 4 tests. Okay? Member M, I see your hand is raised. Please go ahead.
I am in frustration from Anne. It feels like a, ask forgiveness versus ask permission situation. Now, that being said, we are supposed to view it as if it's not built. And, in that light, these variances do appear minor to me, but it does appear to be, it shouldn't have gone this way. This is not how the process works. And I'm disappointed to see that that's the case, but I mean, we don't have many options before us, and the variances themselves, in my opinion, are minor, but how they got them, I don't necessarily feel is appropriate.
This is what I was trying to say, was that we have to focus on the variances before us, regardless of the fact that it's been built. We have to focus on the 4 tests and run those 4 tests against these variances. And of course, you are entitled to your opinion. If you feel that they're non-minor in nature or fails any of the 4 tests, you're well within your rights to provide that as a motion, or you can vote on that accordingly. So I think we've had a good discussion on this one. If there are no burning questions or comments, I would say that we put forward a motion on this one. Member Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Looking at the variance before the committee at this time, I can see the variances mentioned there are minor and they meet the 4 tests. So I move the motion for approval of this application, and there is no conditions to that.
Thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Gary, please go ahead.
Madam Chair, I would second the approval of this minor variance application.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? All opposed? Okay. Member Macaulay opposes the motion. The motion is still carried and the application is approved. There are no conditions, right? I just want to make sure there weren't any conditions. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. We now move to our next item that was held which is item number item 19, and I have a conflict on that one. So I will move aside and I will let member M chair the application.
Through the chair, just a reminder to everybody that we are going to need at some point, if we're going to need to switch our YouTube stream from the AM stream to the PM stream. We have that'll be in about 25 minutes, but I will give you some notice.
Okay.
I'll give all the members some notice, and also members of the public who are viewing it and applicants.
Member M?
In the event, though, that this item takes more than 23 minutes, wouldn't it be more conservative to switch over now as opposed to cutting off mid deliberation?
That's why I'm suggesting it might be a good idea if we do a 5-minute break now, so it could switch over.
Yeah, I think that would be great before we start into the actual item itself and then potentially get cut off.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then what I would suggest through the chair is that we take a 5-minute break to allow us to switch the YouTube streams from the AM stream to the PM stream. So for all the viewers on YouTube and applicants, etc., please go in 5 minutes. Please access, if you want to continue viewing, please access the PM stream on the City Planning YouTube's channel for this Committee of Adjustment hearing. Thank you.
Colin, just in terms of the members, then we don't have to reconnect. We'll stay connected to this hearing.
That's correct. It's for the people viewing the hearing on YouTube.
Thank you. That's great.
Thank you.